I know, I know. Sheer nodded with a smile. I do that too. Ha ha ha, I just knew that we are the same kind of people. In that case, I'll go back first. Sure, I'll see you out. Come and eat again when you're free again. Mag stood up. It will be great if I don't have to line up. Sheer replied, lining up is too much of a luxury for me. I'll call you when we have a gathering next time. Mag nodded smilingly. You earn millions in a minute, so lining up for a few hours to eat a meal is indeed a luxury. Sheer came out of the restaurant and pulled her down jacket closed. She quickly got into the horse-drawn carriage before heaving a breath of relief. She fanned her blushing cheeks with her hand. She couldn't help laughing when she thought about her conversation with Mag. Sheer propped her chin on her hand and thought curiously, however, what was he rejecting? What was he thinking about earlier? Young mistress, are we going to the bank now? Asked the secretary. Sheer replied, and the horse-drawn carriage drove away from Mamie restaurant slowly. Mag sat next to the window and watched Sheer's carriage leave. He sipped from his teacup, but his thoughts were already far away. The little maiden's subtle seduction wasn't enough to make a mature man like him fall for it. Saying it practically, he simply didn't dare to, because he had an elven, tiger, wife at home. He had already reached the stage of financial freedom. Be it the hundreds of millions that he had taken from Dragon Island, the textile factory, the brewery, the half of Romo Street and Saipan Tavern, or Mana Hot Pot restaurant that he co-owned with Rena, he simply couldn't finish spending his wealth even if he splurged every single day. However, ever since his past life, money to him was just a number. A number that he couldn't finish spending. Hence, he was never obsessed over it. Instead, how to make himself feel rich and happy inside and make his family and friends feel blissful, made him look forward to spending money on them more. This world hadn't changed for the better. They had fought for 100 years of peace, but this was still a world that had a huge racial divide. The hatred didn't disappear and conflicts would arise again after the short honeymoon period. The issues that couldn't be resolved on Earth in the 21st century, naturally couldn't be resolved immediately in this savage continent. What gave him some consolation was, there were at least some active changes. For example, the dwarves, the goblins, and Chaos City were rapidly building ties and connections. Lantist was out of the game. It had joined the underground city. Connie had full control of the Orcs. At least, it was much better than the times of Auster. The Elves' feudal system was collapsing right now, and Sally might become the new person in power. Mag had always thought that she was a kind maiden. Ever since the giant dragons took on the role of transport means, they seemed to be more humble. At least, they didn't look down on the others so easily now. The forest trolls still isolated themselves. It was indeed difficult for such a big guy to blend into another society, but it was a good thing for the world that they had lost a bad-tempered and ambitious chief. The demons' situation was much more complicated. There was no powerful tribe that could unify the whole race. They were in a disunified state. Mag had no idea how they would progress in the future either. The last was the Roth Empire. Andrei had already declared to the world that Sean was the crown prince. This meant that this gigantic empire would be handed over to Sean one day. That was very bad. Mag wasn't happy about it. Hence, he was thinking if this throne should be handed over to Vanessa or that little carpenter. A queen regnant was also quite nice, but Vanessa might not be willing to do it. He wasn't familiar with the little carpenter, so he had to observe him for a while longer. The Moon Nation seemed rather interesting too. He wanted to go take a look when he was free. Although humans had landed on the moon successfully, they couldn't live there yet. Wouldn't it be marvelous if he could stay for 3 days and 2 nights? As for the underground city, he hadn't chatted with XI online for a few days. It was difficult to chat with this ice beauty. She only answered with an no matter what he said. He was also equally expectant towards that advanced civilization. However, as he respected danger, he didn't have any plans to go to the underground city yet. That world might have existences who were above the 10th tier and they had technology that was more advanced than the system. He was even worried that his system would be discovered if he went into that world and that they would catch him and dissect him. This system is very advanced, okay. I'm only restricted by the rules according to the Norland continent. Could the host please not overthink, the system said angrily. Mag rolled his eyes and replied, advanced, my foot. Amy's system rewarded her with a nuclear-powered printer just for looking for a snail. You only gave me the Sichuan spicy chicken as a reward for defeating a great old one. Tell me, aren't you rubbish? This system is being professional. Mag tried to negotiate. Now that the Moon Nation and the underground city have appeared, can you reset your permissions? We're playing with dimensionality reduction attacks, but we're being dimensionality reduction attacked by others now. It feels horrible. Resetting the system needs to restart. You can restart then. The premise for restarting is the host's death. The system will return to God and reincarnation. Are you sure you want to initiate the self-destruction program, host? Wait. Mag quickly stopped this stupid system from doing stupid things. After this system's evaluation, there are no signs of the underground world invading the Norland continent, and the Norland continent isn't an unknown world to them. It's a world that was abandoned by them, so as long as the host doesn't go overboard, you won't suffer too much. Let's change our way of thinking. If the underground world could break through the 10th tier restraint, do I have the chance to become a god when I enter the underground world? Mag asked seriously. This was a question that he had been thinking about recently. The Elder Things didn't abandon the Norland continent because its resources were depleted and they could no longer survive. Most probably, they were searching for a higher limit. Xi mostly fought with guns and battleships, but the aura coming from her was already close to a 10th tier. Given her age, she could be a genius in the underground world, or it was the underground world's overall environment that gave her the convenience in cultivation. The system replied solemnly, theoretically, it's possible, but the risk of the host entering the underground city is uncontrollable. I hope the host could be more cautious. Mag ended his conversation with the system. He opened the messenger and sent a short message to Xi. The red braised pork is being cooked over a small earthen stove in the early spring. It's steaming and the chopsticks have poked through it easily. Do you want to come and eat it? After a while, Mag received a reply. I'm coming. Mag walked towards the kitchen and took out a chunk of pork belly from the refrigerator. The pork belly had an even layer of fat and lean meat, and it was used to make a helping of red braised pork specially for the customer that would be coming. Rice, enough for 3 people, was cooked separately in the rice cooker because without rice, the red braised pork would be missing its soul. Besides, that woman's appetite was not something to be underestimated. The red braised pork that was covered in a bright red layer was stewed in a ceramic pot over a small fire. Mag went back to the window and took out a book. He laid comfortably in his chair and read. Ugly Duckling stretched lazily and jumped down the counter. It sauntered slowly to Mag, jumped up on a chair, and got itself in a comfortable position on his legs. Mag glanced at Ugly Duckling, who was snoring softly, and rested his book on its head. It was just the right height. He rested his arm on the soft cat cushion. It was rather warm too. Meow, Ugly Duckling protested softly. Mag flipped over to the next page. Not long later, the doorbell rang. Mag stood up to open the door. Xi was wearing a black and silver bodysuit. Thankfully, she had put her extremely big rifle away. You're pretty fast. Mag looked at his watch. It had only been an hour. He wondered if that was the time needed to travel between Chaos City and the underground city. Xi's nostrils flared. She smelled the fragrance of the pork and said casually, I happen to be doing something nearby. Mag could tell that she actually meant, I am not here specifically for this red braised pork. Come on in. Mag stood aside with a smile. If he could get her to come here, everything would be easy. Mag poured a glass of warm water for Xi and went into the kitchen to cut up the red braised pork into bite-sized pieces and plated it on a small yellow ceramic stove. There were a few burning pieces of charcoal on the stove and a black ceramic pot was propped on top of it. The red braised pork that was just scooped out from the cooking fire was still bubbling. The meat was a bright red and the rich fragrance made Xi, who took a sip of water just now, swallow her saliva. This smells too good. When she received Mag's message, she was coming out of the defense building and still had to go to the army to make a report. After careful consideration, she decided to push the report to be an online submission and continue focusing on her job as an observer. She passed through the tunnel and came to the Norland continent, arriving at Chaos City as fast as she could. However, this fellow had lied to her. The red braised pork was not cooking on the ceramic stove. It was still in the pot. She thought she had already missed the best time to eat it, but it seemed that right now was the best time to eat it. Mag scooped a bowl of rice up and scattered a small dish of spring onions on the meat. The bits of green dotted on the red seemed to have injected soul into the food. There was also a small plate of pickled carrots that Mag had made himself. The carrot was cut into a thin, fan shape. It was marinated for a few days with some small chilies, Sichuan pepper, rock sugar, salt, and a little vinegar. It was the simplest recipe to make the most refreshing pickled carrot. Thank you. Xi helped herself. She picked up her chopsticks and placed a piece of red braised pork in her bowl. Her goal here was the red braised pork and she needed to treat it seriously. The red braised pork was fatty, tender, and very soft. A mark could be left on it just by picking it up gently with the chopsticks. The bright red color warmed one's heart and the skin was translucent and glossy. Xi had returned to the underground city over the past few days and had also been to the restaurants she used to frequent. However, none of them gave her an experience as good as this red braised pork. In the depths of the night, she would be extremely hungry when she looked through the parts in The Little Mermaid about red braised pork. However, she was a very reserved person and her persona was an aloof female officer. Therefore, she would never ask Mag to make her red braised pork. However, it's different since he's the one who asked her. Therefore, she crossed over from one world to another to come all the way here within an hour. She was really craving it. She blew on it gently and placed the meat into her mouth. It was a little scalding, but this mouthful was juicy, fragrant, and tender. The soft texture and fragrance of the meat made her close her eyes subconsciously. Ah, this was the feeling she had been longing for. The feeling of fulfillment after days and nights of pining was so satisfying. Her taste buds were celebrating and jumping for joy. In comparison, the positions of those few restaurants from the underground city had dropped in her heart. They were too plain and it was difficult to feel the joy and exclamation she was feeling now. After that, Xi took a few big mouthfuls of rice. The rice was soft and fragrant, wiping out any greasiness in her mouth. The longer she chewed, the sweeter and more fragrant the rice became. After having a few pieces of red braised pork and about half a bowl of rice, Xi's attention went to the small dish of pickled carrots. She picked up a piece of carrot and just when she was going to put it into her mouth, she smelled something sour. It was not the sour smell of rotting things. It was a slightly intrusive sweet and sour smell that would make one salivate uncontrollably. She took a small bite. It was refreshing and crunchy. The sourness and sweetness blossomed on the tip of her tongue. The refreshing feeling cleansed any remaining greasiness in her mouth. After that, came the slightly spicy taste. This is rather good. Xi's eyes lit up. She finished the remaining half of the carrot and listened to the crunch as she chewed. She seemed to be in a better mood immediately. The red braised pork was still cooking over a small fire, so it was constantly maintained at a warm temperature, perfect for consumption. Xi scooped some of the gravy onto her rice and mixed it well so as to coat every grain of rice with the gravy. After that, she put a spoonful of rice in her mouth. This was the best red braised pork gravy mixed with rice. The rice, which was coated in the gravy, had an additional savory flavor on top of its sweetness. It was a delicacy on its own without any side dishes. This was also one of Xi's favorite ways of eating. A pot of red braised pork, a pot of rice, and a plate of pickled carrots. Xi ate alone at her own pace and finished everything in about half an hour. This woman is hard to feed, Mag thought to himself. Only Amy's appetite could be compared to hers. Xi finished the last grain of rice in her bowl, licked the gravy at the corner of her mouth, and put her cutlery down. She wiped her mouth with a napkin and leaned back into her chair with satisfaction. She had not had such a comfortable meal in a long time. Luckily she did not have time for breakfast in the morning. Look, some women are just like this. After you feed her, she would suddenly behave like she doesn't know you. What, I can't treat you to a meal if nothing's the matter. After all, we have been through life and death together, Mag said with a smile. Xi nodded. You can call me if you have red braised pork again. Mag had, women. Indeed, she made the trip here for his red braised pork, not for him. Where's that person who was in the mech last time? We're brothers who have fought together after all. I should treat him to a meal too, Mag said casually. Why are you so sure it's a man? Xi looked at Mag. In that case, she's a lady. Mag raised his brow slightly. What, is women forming a legion a trend in the underground city now? Or is the underground city an all-women state? The one who flew a battleship to the Great Old Ones and almost self-detonated was a lady? So be it. That's pretty good too. Mag did not like to waste his time on males. That's not important. Xi did not reply directly to his question. Mag nodded and said seriously, it isn't important. Even if it's a lady, I would also intend to treat her to a meal. Xi kept her mouth shut too tightly, so Mag had decided to change his target. He did not believe that everyone in the underground city was like Xi. You concealed your identity and opened a restaurant. Aren't you afraid that you would expose yourself if too many people find out? Xi glanced at Mag. Compared to me opening a restaurant here, I guess the existence of the underground city would be an even bigger piece of news. Mag was calm and fearless. This secret had been well protected for the past tens of thousands of years, Xi said calmly. The corner of Mag's lips twitched. This was an outright threat. She was from an advanced civilization indeed. How's Lantis doing now? Mag did not beat about the bush. Pretty good. Lantis and the underground city have already signed an agreement for them to join the underground city officially. On top of that, the underground city has helped them plan out an area for their living and they will be entitled to all rights of the underground city union, Xi said. Mag nodded. The system had done a lie detector test on Xi. She should be speaking the truth. I would like to ask if the underground city could provide a restricted visitation pass? You know as well that the Lantistine princess is my friend. She is all alone in Chaos City and will miss her friends and relatives. No. Xi's reply was short and sweet. There was no room for negotiation. That's too cruel. You could just bring her along when you go into the underground city and then bring her out again when you're coming out. Mag tried to communicate. She knows about the underground city and we have already made her the exception by allowing her to keep her memory. The moment she enters the underground city, she would better understand the underground city. That way, her threat to the underground city would become bigger. Therefore, she would not be allowed to leave the underground city anymore, Xi said calmly. Mag had roughly understood the underground city's system of only allowing people to go in but not out. This meant that it was not allowed for someone to go into the underground city through official routes and then return safely to the Norland continent. Since Xi had already put it that way, Mag did not continue pushing. This was obviously not what Xi could decide. Where's your rifle? Can you let me play with it? Mag changed the topic. He was rather interested in Xi's assault rifle. Men would always be more interested in such things. No. Xi rejected coldly again. The red braised pork isn't very easy to make actually. It requires a wild boar that ate healthily, slept and woke up early, and had regular exercise. After that, we'll have to choose the pork belly portion where there is an equal amount of fat and lean meat to make a pot of red braised pork, just like the one you had. A 250 kg wild boar could only be made into 3 to 4 helpings of red braised pork. Choosing the pork belly itself was just the start. We have to prepare the meat by scalding it in water, cutting. Smack! Before Mag even finished, an assault rifle was placed in front of him. It was not the one Xi had. This was slightly smaller but its design was rather similar. The metallic black was matte, looking very astounding. Judging from how worn out the stock and trigger were, Mag deduced that this was not a new gun. It should be what Xi used regularly. This is a gun I used previously. You can take a look, Xi said. She did enjoy a few free red braised pork dishes from him, so she could still satisfy this little request of his. Mag helped himself to the assault rifle. It was more than 1.5 meters in length and weighed about 50 kilograms. It was a very dense metal. Strong woman. Mag had a new label for Xi in his heart. This was way bigger and heavier than his Tiandu sword. However, Xi looked thin and weak. To be able to carry such a heavy assault rifle and snipe accurately meant that she was very powerful. Mag played with the rifle for a while. This gun did look rather high-tech, but all guns have similarities. However, this rifle seemed to have improved on the theory of using the ignition of gunpowder in the gun barrel to shoot the bullet out. He was unable to investigate how this worked, but Xi said this gun's effective range was 20 kilometers. That was about 10 times that of the Barrett. Mag looked at the assault rifle in his hands and felt that it was not that heavy. Although it did not have a 400 kilometers range, the 20 kilometers range was enough for most sniping missions. There was much room for imagination with that distance. It was even very difficult to properly defend against sniping from that distance. Can I give it a try? Mag asked. One shot from this could pierce through 10 buildings. Are you sure you want to give it a try? Xi told Mag, of course not here. It would feel good to hunt with this. Mag was rather in love with it. The system would never give him such high-level equipment. He did not have the skills to make it on his own either. This is war equipment. No one would eat minced prey. Xi shook her head. F***ck. What do you usually use to hunt then? Mag continued asking. Xi brought out a smaller hunting gun. In comparison to the assault rifle in Mag's hand, that gun appeared very petite, but it also had a scope. Mag put the assault rifle down and picked up the hunting gun. It was only a few kilograms and felt rather light. Indeed, a real man has to take the assault rifle. This is just like a child's plaything. Why don't you sell this gun to me? Mag said as he pointed to the assault rifle. No, Xi said without hesitation. 1 free lifetime red braised pork voucher. Mag quoted his price. Xi frowned and went into deep thoughts. Including the rice. Mag increased his stakes. Xi subconsciously bit her lips conflictingly. You can choose another dish, also free for a lifetime. Mag increased his stakes again. Deal. Xi clenched her teeth and nodded. Of course, Xi was sure he wouldn't go around with this assault rifle when she gave him it. After all, it was an assault rifle that she didn't want. It couldn't compare to his sword. As for replicating it, do you think the elder thing's tens of thousands of years of technology advancement is a joke? Given the Norland continent's recent entry into the age of steam, if they wanted to replicate this assault rifle, they couldn't even analyze its materials without a few hundred years. Xi also thought to herself, it's a great deal. Mag took the menu and put it in front of Xi. You get to have one more dish. Choose away. Xi swept her gaze around before landing on Buddha jumps over the wall. Mag's eyelids twitched badly. He had a bad omen. Xi looked up into Mag's eyes. She curved her lips slightly and pointed. How about this one? This one? Actually, the most expensive doesn't mean it's the best. The most suitable one is the best, Mag replied seriously. Xi pursed her lips. I seem to have read about this phrase in a novel. It was said by a jerk. You shouldn't read that kind of novel. It's all rubbish, Mag said solemnly. The Buddha jumps over the wall cost 10,000 copper coins per helping. If Xi ordered 3 helpings per day, it would be hard to determine who would be the one who had the good deal. Then, I shall decide again next time. Xi retracted her hands as her smile widened. That's fine too. Mag nodded. This woman wasn't as rigid as she looked on the outside. Mag cleared away the bowls and cutlery before pouring a new cup of warm water for Xi. Sitting across from her, he curiously asked, what do you guys call those existences whose power exceeds the 10th tier in Underground City? Extraordinaire, Xi answered. Mag was rather surprised by her straightforwardness. He actually didn't have to try to make her tell him, so he continued to ask, how powerful is an extraordinaire? More powerful than you? Mag, you don't believe me? Xi looked at Mag with indignation. We have to duel before we know who is stronger. Xi shook her head and said, I have analyzed your speed and strength. They haven't reached the threshold of an extraordinaire yet. The data won't lie. Mag. Although he felt a little indignant, Mag believed what Xi said. The Elder Things did indeed have powerhouses that have broken through the 10th tier. They were the so-called gods on the Norland continent and the extraordinaires in Underground City. Are there many of these extraordinaires? Mag asked curiously. Xi shook her head. 10th tier powerhouses are already limited, so naturally there wouldn't be many extraordinaires. Mag continued to ask, I have always been curious about this. The Elder Things left the Norland continent because you wanted to pursue a higher limit. What is so special about the Underground City that allows the upper limit of the 10th tier to be broken? You should know very well that this question is already beyond what you should know, Xi replied calmly, her expression turning cold. Mag shrugged. It was indeed difficult to get information from Xi once sensitive questions were touched on. Thank you for your hospitality. Xi put down the empty water glass and walked to the door. She stopped at the door, turned her head around and said, Underground City has always guarded against any prying eyes from the outside world. If you don't want to get into trouble, you'd better control your curiosity. Is that a warning? Mag asked with a smile. You can say so. Xi nodded. Mag suddenly asked, does Underground City take in husbands who marry into the family? Xi turned to flick a glance at Mag before saying with a frown, don't you already have a wife? Will you consider me if I don't have a wife? Mag looked into her eyes. I'm not interested in men. Xi retracted her gaze and left. Interesting. Mag looked at the slowly closing door as he gently caressed that bullpup assault rifle with his fingers. She wasn't interested in men, so she was interested in women then? No wonder she was so hard to flirt with. He wondered what her type was. The Lolita with beast ears, Connie? The energetic dragon server maid, Mia? The mature vampire, Camilla? The seductive succubus, Angela? The little Goldie Horn, Jane? Even after thinking for a while with his chin propped on his hand, Mag still couldn't decide who he should send to seduce Xi. However, on second thoughts, it was best that the sending a girl scenario never had to happen. But again, he couldn't call it sending a girl between lesbians, right? Mag took out the communicator and sent a message to Xi again, bring the other girl next time. I treat you both to roast beef kebab. The best beef cut with marbling is made into kebabs. They sizzle on the charcoal grill as sauce is brushed over them before cumin and chili powder are sprinkled all over them. It's truly life made complete when you eat it piping hot with an ice-cold bubbling beer. After a moment of silence from the other end, Mag received a reply. All right. Mag put away the communicator. He didn't continue to bootlick. See, whether a girl was easy to seduce or not, depended on whether you have caught her interests. It would be a wonder if she would pay attention to him, who was a primitive native, talking to her about Barrett since she was from an advanced civilization. However, talking to her about food was different. Unless she was a real fairy, she would have to eat. On the other end, XI had just completed her report via a video link on the spaceship. After closing the link, she looked at the notification column subconsciously. There were no new messages reminders. After daydreaming for a while, she closed the virtual screen with a weird expression. She always worked alone and had almost no friends at all. Apart from work-related messages, no one would contact her normally. However, she had been checking the notification column every now and then in the past few days. This was an inexplicable feeling. Beep. A gentle beep. XI raised her hand and the virtual screen opened up automatically. There was a new message in the notification column from Vicky. Big Sister XI, when are you coming to Rodu? I'll treat you to a meal. XI fell silent for a while after she read the message. Usually, she would reject it right away when she received such social messages. However, she thought of the message that Mag sent her earlier, so after thinking for some time, she replied, I'll bring you to eat grilled meat in 2 days' time. All right, all right. I love grilled meat. Contact me when it's time. Big Sister XI is the best, Vicky replied instantly. She was such a bootlicker. XI ended the conversation with one word. I shouldn't overly crave good food. Other than good food, I should record about the other advancements of the Norland continent's civilizations, XI murmured to herself before picking out a book from the bookshelf. Why did she pick up this book again? The red braised pork was indeed delicious. She will have it again next time. She wondered what the taste of his grilled meat was like. Were the kebabs as nice as the red braised pork? The laws of Underground City didn't seem to have any special requirements on husbands who married into the families. Some families still practiced that, but a husband who married into his wife's family didn't have a high status. Did he not mind that? I have to line up too? I came to negotiate a business deal. Do you see them? The people lining up at the front are the city lord and his family. If you think it's appropriate to cut the queue, please do so yourself, sir. I see. Actually, lining up is quite nice too. How orderly it is. Hector followed Garland and Milo to the back of the line and lined up in an orderly manner. Hector, who had taken the flying steed in the morning, reached Chaos City before noon. After Garland fetched him, they went straight to Mamie Restaurant. Of course, he didn't fly for hours to come here for lunch. However, they happened to be on time for lunch and long lines had already formed at Mamie Restaurant. He had to wait for the lunch service to be over even if he wanted to talk with Mag about a collaboration. Hector sneaked a peek at Michael and his family before softly saying, "This boss Mag let the city lord and his family wait in the cold for the restaurant to open for business, he is indeed as rumored." Garland nodded and replied, "Boss Mag is famous for obeying the rules. Every customer has to obey the restaurant's rules, otherwise, he won't serve you. No one ever tried to cut the queue. Do you think there will be any idiots who dare to try that when even the city lord chose to respect this rule?" Garland chuckled before whispering, "Moreover, Boss Mag's daughter has 2 very powerful masters, which are those 2 lining up at the very front. They are Lord of Ice, Urian, and Lord of Fire, Krasu. Do you think it's still possible to cut the queue now? It's actually the 2 of them." Hector sucked in a cold breath. Krasu's fame in the Roth Empire wasn't any less than Alex's, and his nemesis, Urian, was equally famous too. He didn't expect Mr. Mag's daughter to have 2 masters who were so powerful. With 2 such backers, the rules were simply nothing to oppose now. It's fortunate that you stopped me earlier. Hector patted Garland on his shoulder. He wondered if he would be sent flying by those old gentlemen if he had just gone for the door earlier. Hector softly asked, "Have you mentioned it to Boss Mag before?" "It isn't something that I can decide. I'm afraid he would be mistaken, so I didn't bring it up. We were waiting for you to come and negotiate it yourself." Garland shook his head. Hector nodded. He frowned slightly as he looked at the signboard gleaming under the sunlight. He was still quite confident on his way here and he came up with a few plans. However, he suddenly wasn't very confident anymore when he stood in front of Mamie Restaurant now. Garland consoled him. "Don't fret, boss. Even if the deal fails, it's still great to have a meal here. Perhaps, you won't want to leave afterwards." "Then, I want to see if it's indeed as amazing as you guys said," Hector replied smilingly. He was a 100 kilograms chowhound that came from a family of chowhounds. His father founded Perfect Food and he grew it big. For a very long time, he was the supporting pillar of the Perfect Food's gourmet column. Milo, who didn't have a chance to speak up, chimed in, "You don't have to worry about that at all. A man who touched countless chowhounds with his words alone, wouldn't disappoint." Hector nodded. Milo had said what he thought exactly. The column that Mag personally wrote could rival the best gourmet columnists, while his main job was actually as chef. He was too busy during this period of time, so he didn't have the chance to come to Chaos City. He would definitely take this chance to try the dishes out today. Vivian held her mother's arm and smilingly said, "Wow, it looks like today's new dishes are spicy too. Why don't we order a helping of Sichuan spicy chicken too?" Eunice worriedly said, "Will it be too spicy? Will we get little bumps on our skin tomorrow after we eat it? Boss Mag's spiciness isn't the usual spiciness. We'd better be more cautious." Michael nodded in agreement. As a victim of the spicy grilled fish, Michael was always cautious of all Mamie Restaurant's dishes that had the word spicy in its name. Luna smiled quietly. She always took part in such family gatherings, so she didn't feel awkward at all. "Don't worry. We came early so we'll definitely get to eat the tofu pudding." "A helping of tofu pudding could solve all skin problems," Vivian said confidently. "That's true. The tofu pudding is delicious and it has beautifying effects as well." Eunice nodded before looking at Luna at the side. She touched Luna's face lovingly. "Luna, you've got to eat more later. You have lost weight and you have dark circles around your eyes now. Did you recently stay up late?" Luna smilingly replied, "The Hope Primary School is wrapping up, so I'm busier than usual. However, it will be done soon." Although she was far from home, the kind and gentle Lady Eunice always cared for her like a mother. She made her feel warm. Michael smiled helplessly. He didn't have any say in his family. Since they had already decided, he would just follow them. The restaurant's door and the customers streamed in. Vivian and her family sat at a corner table. Even though many recognized Michael, they didn't go up to talk to him. This was a common consensus among the Mamie Restaurant's customers. Negotiating a business deal at the table was also disallowed. After all, so many people were lining up for a table to have their meals, so there wasn't any time for people to talk about business slowly. Vivian picked up the menu and quickly found the new dish. She said, "I want a helping of Sichuan spicy chicken, a helping of sweet tofu pudding and a large spicy grilled fish. You guys can choose the rest." Vivian passed the menu to Luna. "A large grilled fish is enough for all of us." Luna looked at Michael before considerately said, "Why don't we change it to a small grilled fish and order some other dishes?" That's a good suggestion." Michael agreed with her. "Of course, we have to order the grilled fish, but we also can order the other dishes too." The grilled fish saved Vivian's life, so even though Michael couldn't take the spiciness, he still had an affinity with that dish. "Oh, so you guys don't want to eat grilled fish today? I will just order one small one for myself and you guys can order other dishes. Vivian nodded. She couldn't believe that there were actually people who didn't want to eat the grilled fish. Michael ordered a helping of the eggplant with garlic sauce and a bowl of shaved noodles that Vivian recommended. Eunice ordered a helping of roast goose. She heard her friend talk about it a few days ago, so she wanted to eat it. Luna ordered a helping of tofu pudding for herself. Since there were already many main dishes, she didn't order any more of them. Vivian turned to Luna and whispered in her ear, "Don't stand on ceremony. My father is giving us a treat today. We don't get such opportunities every single day." Michael also chimed in with a smile. "Luna, you can order whatever you want. We can take the rest away if we can't finish it." Little boss is so adorable. Boss Mag is so fortunate. I wonder who will be the lucky woman to be with him in the future. Of course, it has to be me. Why are you drunk when the liquor is not even served yet? The few young maidens sitting near the counter laughed and joked softly. Amy moved her gaze away from the tablet and landed on those few ladies before seriously saying, "Father likes maidens who eat a lot." After that, she returned to watching her cartoons. The four young ladies were taken aback for a second. They looked at one another and their minds began to race. Did we order too little? Should we order more? Yes, yes. I was already hungry before I came, and I have been eating a lot recently. Then, let's order a few more dishes. What about another helping of red braised pork? Meow. Ugly duckling laid on its back with its stomach being used as the tablet's stand. It rolled its eyes at those stupid women. Amy's fleshy hand landed on its face as she softly said, "Don't move." Ugly duckling immediately turned its head to the side to play dead. "This is Mr. Mag's daughter." Hector looked at Amy and said with shock, she could draw picture books at such a young age. "This is Boss Mag's daughter, Amy the little boss. She is 4 years old this year, but the picture books are not drawn by her," Milo smilingly replied. "Phew, oh man." Hector smiled. He almost got a shock. He wondered if the threshold for genius children was so high now. Milo continued speaking, "Little Amy is the disciple of Krasua and Urian. I heard she won the Magic Caster tournament some time back and defeated an 8th tier Magic Caster." Cough, cough. Hector glared and choked as he looked at Milo with shock. "Why you are saying that she is an 8th tier Magic Caster? A 4-year-old is an 8th tier Magic Caster. Currently, we only know that she has defeated an 8th tier Magic Caster, but we aren't sure if she is an 8th tier Magic Caster," Garland nodded and said strictly. Hector suddenly felt that his brain couldn't seem to process the information very well. A 4-year-old girl had defeated an 8th tier Magic Caster and won the Magic Caster tournament. This was something that wouldn't even appear in a picture book. Hector gulped and asked, "Which means, we can't even defeat her?" Milo pondered seriously before he answered, "I think the 3 of us together might not even defeat that fat cat." "Is it some kind of magic beast too?" Hector was shocked again. "That is a mysterious existence that little boss called Ugly Duckling. I believed some kind of mysterious magic beast form is hidden under its fat orange cat appearance." Milo nodded solemnly as he looked at Ugly Duckling, who was lying on the counter for Amy to prop up a black metallic tablet listlessly, and said, "No matter what kind of powerhouse it faces, it still looks at them with this expression. Hence, you can guess how powerful it is." Both Hector and Garland stared at Ugly Duckling's rotund face for a while. Ugly Duckling seemed to sense something and it gave them a dead stare with a "how dare you look at me secretly" expression. Indeed. The two of them quickly retracted their gaze and believed Milo deeply. Milo flipped open the menu. "Shall we have a helping of Sichuan spicy chicken too? Is there no chicken in this Sichuan spicy chicken?" Hector only saw cut chilies when he looked at the picture. The whole plate was red and no chicken could be seen. This. Garland and Milo were also taken aback. This really did seem to be a little mysterious. Perhaps, Boss Mag wants to tell us that this dish is very spicy and all the chicken pieces are hidden in the midst of the cut chilies. Milo analyzed. Perhaps, Boss Mag has stuffed the chicken into the cut chilies? We're supposed to chew it together with chili. Garland guessed. These are dried chilies and not fresh chilies. How is he going to stuff them? Hector rolled his eyes. He pointed and said, "Won't we know after we've ordered it?" That's right. Anyway, boss is giving us a treat today. Milo nodded. Hector waved his hand and generously said, "It's my treat today." Garland's eyes lit up and smilingly said, "Shall we look at Buddha jumps over the wall too?" Hector flicked a glance at the 10,000 copper coins price and his eyelids twitched. He pressed down on the menu. Is this Buddha jumps over the wall better than the succubus maidens at the massage joint? Garland and Milo smiled knowingly. They flipped to the next page and ordered grilled fish. Of course, the succubus maidens were better. Hector tidied his clothes and smiled too. A helping of Buddha jumps over the wall cost 10,000 copper coins. 3 helpings would cost 30,000 copper coins. Going to the massage joint for a succubus maiden's massage package only cost 699 coins. Wasn't that cheaper and more enjoyable? I am such a smart boss. Hector ordered the dishes and sized up the restaurant. The wooden renovation was simple yet elegant. The comfortable separation of the tables didn't affect the hall's openness, yet it gave the customers a comfortable distance. It was, without a doubt, a demonstration of a master's thought process. And after the customers took their seats, the restaurant staff took the customers' orders according to their sequence of appearance. They spoke slowly and softly without any fluster, making people feel very comfortable in the restaurant that was now filled with a few hundred customers. From the moment they stepped into Mamie Restaurant, they could sense a relaxed and comfortable ambience, including how the servers made you feel. They were close but not too close. The appropriate sense of distance made people feel even more relaxed. After eating at so many restaurants, Boss Mag is indeed the best rule setter I have ever seen, Hector said with admiration. He had read a few gourmet articles about Mamie Restaurant's rules and order before, but he was still skeptical about the possibility that a super big restaurant could provide a comfortable dining environment with all races sitting together. He was indeed impressed when he saw it with his own eyes today. Some of Boss Mag's ideas are indeed very advanced. However, it does indeed give the customers a better dining experience. Garland nodded with a smile. If you are in Rodu, you definitely couldn't imagine that demons, orcs, and giant dragons could have their meals together so harmoniously and gracefully. Actually, you guys failed to notice one thing. Because we are in Chaos City, and most importantly, Boss Mag's dishes are irreplaceable. This gave him greater control in the customers' hearts, Milo said. To a chowhound, being blacklisted at Mamie Restaurant was a complete disaster. After ordering, the dishes were sent to the customer's table one by one. Your Sichuan spicy chicken. Mia came over with a tray and put a helping of Sichuan spicy chicken on the table. The chicken that was cut into small pieces was fried till golden brown. The color was beautiful and they were hidden among the large amount of cut chilies. After sweeping the chilies away, apart from the spiciness, the chicken's aroma spread and all 3 pairs of eyes lit up. This looks quite interesting. I'll taste it first. Hector already couldn't wait. He picked up a piece of chicken and popped it into his mouth. Biting down, the skin was crispy and after biting through it, the inside was exceptionally tender and juicy. The fragrant spiciness filled his whole mouth. It was numbing but not too overly spicy. It got increasingly fragrant as he chewed. He simply couldn't stop and he picked up another piece again. This chicken should have been deep fried twice. The first time was done at a low temperature to cook it. The second time was done at a high temperature to give this chicken the texture of a crispy exterior and a tender interior. Hector had only eaten chicken that was cooked with this method at a few fried chicken shops in Rodu. The usual chefs treated this method as a secret method. And, the control of the oil temperature was of utmost importance. The Sichuan spicy chicken made by Mag tasted way better than the fried chicken at the shops that he had eaten at before. Every piece of chicken was perfect. It made people marvel at it while they were eating it. One had to know that these fried chicken restaurants were passed down for generations and their recipes were refined again and again, but they still couldn't compare to this new dish of Mag's. It was obvious how good Boss Mag's culinary skills were. Furthermore, this chicken had more than a layer of flavor on the outside. The inside was equally flavorful. Obviously, the chicken was marinated before to have such a balanced flavor inside and out. The details decided whether a dish could be deemed as a delicacy, and be it the creativity or the details, this Sichuan spicy chicken was impeccable to Hector. Hector put down his chopsticks and puffed after eating a few pieces of chicken in a row. After taking a breather, he discovered that his nose was covered with sweat. Hector was amazed. Awesome! This Sichuan spicy chicken is so delish. Now, he could confirm that Milo wasn't lying. His words could only express 10% of Boss Mag's delicacies. Only the people who had tasted the food for themselves could experience the taste personally. Any words paled in comparison. For example, his brain couldn't think of many words to describe this Sichuan spicy chicken now. Perhaps, he needed to sit down quietly when he got back later to reminisce on the taste before he would know how to write this article. Of course, the most important thing now was to settle this table full of goodies, otherwise he would be letting himself down. Milo and Garland ate the chicken quietly. There was no time to make a description about the food right now. They couldn't stop at all, okay. On the other side, Vivian couldn't wait to pop the chicken into her mouth. As she chewed, her eyes got increasingly brighter. After swallowing it, she marveled, "Mmm. This is so delicious. The chicken meat is tender on the inside, yet crispy on the outside. It's similar to the beggar's chicken. There are two completely different textures in the mouth, but they have an equally amazing taste. It's spicy and delicious. It's fantastic." Vivian popped another piece of the chicken into her mouth again. There were tears of happiness in her eyes. That familiar sense of warmth appeared again. A warm current flowed gently through her body and nourished her body, which had already recovered. Other than spicy grilled fish, she had a new choice. Is it really so delicious? Michael picked up a piece of chicken skeptically. He could smell the spiciness, but it wasn't very overpowering. At least, it wasn't as insane as the spicy grilled fish. After breathing out gently, Michael popped the chicken into his mouth. His teeth tore open the chicken and it indeed had a crispy texture. However, underneath the crispy texture was the tender meat, which was juicy. After biting down, the fresh and spicy sensation exploded in his mouth. Numb. Spicy. Fresh. Aromatic. Michael's face was slightly flushed. He opened his mouth and fanned his face with one hand discreetly. At the same time, he had to maintain his dignity as the city lord while tears were gathering in his eyes. "Father, isn't this super delicious? It's so delicious that the tears are falling." Vivian looked at Michael before feeding a piece of chicken into his slightly open mouth filially. "Michael." Michael's tears flowed down gradually as he praised the chicken with a blush. It's so scrumptious." Luna looked at this filial scene between the father and daughter with a smile. Suddenly, she missed home. Eunice placed a piece of chicken into Luna's bowl with the serving chopsticks and smilingly said, "Luna, try it too." "Thank you." Luna took a bite of the chicken. She already had expected the spiciness when she saw all those chilies, so it was still within her expectations. The chicken was perfectly cut into bite-sized pieces. The aromatic spiciness was intoxicating and mesmerizing as one chewed. She looked toward the kitchen instinctively. She could only see a busy side profile through the crowd, but a smile appeared on her lips subconsciously. Mr. Mag was still that innovative person who always brought amazing food to people. Even after eating a few pieces of chicken, Vivian still couldn't stop praising him. "Boss Mag is simply too awesome. He always brings me new surprises." Eunice smilingly said, I think you will be the happiest if I marry you off to Boss Mag. Mom, can you do that? Vivian turned to look at Eunice seriously. You really dare to think? Eunice answered with an exasperated smile. Michael, who finally suppressed the spiciness with the beer, raised his hand and seriously objected. I object to this marriage. Father, just eat your food. Vivian popped another piece of chicken into Michael's mouth. Michael. I'm not really interested, but our teacher Luna. Vivian turned her gaze onto Luna and smilingly said, Mom, little Amy is Luna's student. She likes Luna a lot. Do you want to help her out? Vivian. Luna pinched Vivian on her waist as she blushed immediately. She softly whispered to Eunice, Auntie. She's saying nonsense. It's nothing. Eunice smilingly said, It's fine. Auntie has been through it too. I understand. Boss Mag is really not bad. I'll help you ask him later. Michael frowned. He wanted to remind them tactfully that this marriage wasn't a good idea. Irina was no pushover and Mag didn't have the guts to. However, looking at Vivian, who was reaching out for her chopsticks, he closed his mouth again. Sigh. Boss Mag's darned attractiveness. Hello. Mag reached out to shake his hand. After retracting his hand, he said, There's nothing to talk about if Boss Hector is here to talk about the exclusive column, as I have already signed the contracts with the other magazine presses. This matter is already settled. Although it is a pity, I still respect Mr. Mag's decision. Hector nodded before saying, But I'm not here today for that. Instead, I'm here to talk to Mr. Mag about the matter of color printing. Color printing? Mag frowned. He didn't expect Hector to be the second person to come talk to him, all the way from Rodu, besides Sheer today. Your daughter is a drawing genius. She will definitely become a famous painter in the future. Hector took out the picture book that they had bought previously and smilingly said, And, you, who have resolved the issues of color printing, will become a figure recorded in history. Oh, you're talking about that. Mag smiled before saying, I'm afraid you have misunderstood. I have asked the Night Elves printing factory to print the picture books for me. They are able to replicate it to such perfection. Their skills are indeed astonishing. Hey! Both Hector and Garland were shocked. They looked at each other in befuddlement. Perhaps, the color printing method wasn't created by Mr. Mag, but by the Night Elves instead? This had completely exceeded their expectations. If the other party was the Night Elves, then it would be more troublesome. The Night Elves had become rather famous on the Norland continent recently. Irina rebelled against the Wind Forest and set up the Night Elves. She even brought tens of thousands of the Night Elves to Chaos City. However, they had never expected the Night Elves to set up a printing house after they got to Chaos City. And, they even resolved the problem of color printing? Of course, if Mag had requested for the Night Elves to print the picture books, that meant this printing house would also accept other printing jobs. He could take the chance to work with the Night Elves first and seize the opportunity first. However, they had just arrived and had no contact with the Night Elves at all. They didn't know how to get in contact with them either. Irina was famous and with Alex as her backer, nobody dared to look down on the Night Elves now. Hector looked up at Mag and his eyes lit up suddenly as he smilingly said, Mr. Mag, can I bother you to introduce us to the Night Elves personnel that are in charge of the color printing, please? Our Perfect Food brand wants to upgrade. This is just a small token, please accept it. Mag looked at the 100,000 copper coins banknote in Hector's hands, waved his hand and smilingly said, There's no need to give me money. It's just an introduction. I'll bring you guys over, but you have to negotiate the deal yourself. Sure, sure, sure. Thank you so much. Hector was ecstatic and nodded repeatedly. Mag got into their horse-drawn carriage and went straight to the textile factory at the north of the city. He wanted to reject Hector right away, but on second thoughts, he decided to throw this hot potato to the night elves. Color printing was indeed a very core technology. Its attractiveness was obvious when even Sheer was tempted and Hector came all to Chaos City. He hated trouble, and it would be really very troublesome if different people kept coming here to look for him every day and he had to reject every one of them. Furthermore, some people would have evil thoughts when such a big interest was involved. That would be even more troublesome. The night elves were a good scapegoat. After all, he also wanted to help them develop the printing business in the future and establish the first printing house on the Norland continent that could undertake color printing. Moreover, the night elves had Irina and Alex's support. Given Alex's fame as the savior of the Norland continent, no one would dare to have ideas. They had the core technology and powerful backers. They were obviously a powerful party. Speaking of which, he was still borrowing his own reputation, so he felt no guilt at all for making them the scapegoat. The night elves were his people, so it was easy to create a lie. Hector sat across from Mag and gingerly asked, "Mr. Mag, is there anything we should be aware of in regards to the night elves? Was it smooth when you negotiated your deal with them?" Mag saw the sweat on Hector's nose and he could see how nervous Hector was now. He couldn't help feeling amused, but he still said with a calm expression, "It was quite smooth when I approached them. We signed a contract just after I made a simple request. I wonder if it's because of my face." Hector's face twitched, but he still smilingly said, "Mr. Mag's handsome face is indeed a plus point." "I thought so too." Mag nodded. Hector. Although he felt rather speechless inwardly about Mag's narcissism, Hector began to feel more confident. This meant that the night elves' printing house should have sufficient capacity and they didn't have any good long-term customers. A customer like Mag, who simply wanted to print picture books for his daughter, was not stable. Meanwhile, their perfect food had hundreds of thousands of claimed circulation every month. It was a huge business as long as they could agree on it. The horse-drawn carriage stopped at the textile factory's gates. Mag got out and said to Hector, "Please wait here while I go get someone for you." Hector quickly cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Mr. Mag." Mag waved his hand and strode to the textile factory. The elves at the gates even greeted Mag with familiarity. "Seems like Mr. Mag is indeed a regular here." Hector put down the curtains and felt more relieved. Mag went into the textile factory and went straight for Irina's office. Irina was in the midst of listening to Ashley's report on the slimming drug. After she heard the report, she said to Ashley, "The effect is ample, but we still have to test if it will be popular. Make a batch first and ask a group of intentional customers to test it out before we refine and improve it." "Certainly." Ashley took the vial of medicine on the table and left. "Hello, Mr. Mag." Ashley greeted Mag, who was standing at the door. "Hello, Miss Ashley." Mag nodded slightly. His gaze landed on the blue medicinal vial in her hands and he smilingly said, "Is this the slimming drug that you guys spoke about previously?" "Yes. This is the finished product." Ashley nodded. "May I take a look at it?" Mag asked curiously. Ashley passed the medicinal vial to Mag immediately. Mag pulled open the cork and smelled it. It had an intense fragrance of grass. It wasn't pungent, but neither was it appetizing, either. However, it simply wasn't enough to be able to sustain all their expenses and create profit. As the supreme leader, Irina gave the highest order of creating more revenue to achieve moderate prosperity, and encouraged the night elves to develop in all areas. Mag happened to overhear Ashley and Irina discussing this slimming drug when he was here previously. Rather than saying that it was a slimming drug, it was, in fact, a traditional elven herbal formula that increased the bowel movements. It did indeed have the effect of lowering body fat and its side effects were extremely minimal. Even little elves would drink a glass every day to keep their bowel movements smooth. Irina and her elves decided to improve this formula, turn it into a slimming drug and sell it. Mag admired Irina's foresight in this area. When it comes to the spending chain of contempt, women took the throne without any doubt. Be it for wear, use, eat or play, women had the greatest purchasing power. And on the topic of beautifying themselves, women were willing to pay more money and spend time. This could be seen with the sales of the tofu pudding. One could foresee the women's enthusiasm when a slimming drug that allowed you to slim down without exercising, completely different from those lousy drugs that only reduced your water content by giving you loose stools, and almost had no side effects, was launched. However, Mag frowned when he smelled the potion. Women were willing to accept this flaw in order to become prettier. However, if they wanted to turn it into a nationwide popular health drink, they couldn't just focus on the women's slimming needs. Mag used the dropper to pick up a few drops of green liquid. He tilted his head back and dripped the liquid into his mouth. The taste of grass was intense with a bitter aftertaste. Moreover, it even had some sediments which made the texture very rough. I don't know about the effects yet, but I suggest you guys make some improvements on the taste and texture first. Mag closed the medicinal vial as he said to Ashley, you can make the filter denser or blend the sediments finer. At least, don't let the customers feel the grains in the sediments. The taste isn't really friendly to normal people. You elves can accept the taste of the grass easier than others, but it's rather pungent to normal humans. Furthermore, it's slightly bitter. You can improve its taste with fruit acids and sweeteners. Ashley took out a small booklet and quickly took down the notes. After pondering for a moment, she asked, if we are going to use fruit acids, what fruit is suitable? It's hard to find fresh fruits in Chaos City in the current season. Lemon, orange, apple. You guys can try out all kinds of fruits. It actually isn't hard to find fresh fruits. The snow in Chaos City hasn't melted yet, but the Demon Islands are warm all year long. Given your current conditions, it isn't hard for you guys to disguise yourself and make a trip to the Demon Islands. Mag smilingly said, we have to have global awareness when we're doing business. Ashley's eyes lit up and she nodded with a smile. Yes. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Mag. Don't mention it. I happen to have something to discuss with you and Princess Irina. Let's talk inside, Mag replied. Sure. Ashley put away the little booklet and took the medicinal vial, before following Mag back into the office. Mag told them about his plan to create a Night Elves printing house. If they could use color printing on a large scale, it would be a huge industry. His words made Irina and Ashley excited. Because I'm worried others will be targeting this technology, I intend to declare to the outside world that this technique is controlled by the Night Elves. Many more people will come looking for you guys for collaborations soon. However, our output is limited currently. We can only produce a certain number of exquisite picture books, so we'll reject all those requests for collaboration with the excuse of limited output. We can keep the client's information and we'll cooperate with them once our output has expanded, Mag said. All right. Ashley nodded and noted his suggestion down. Mag said with a smile, there's a client outside right now. He's the boss of Perfect Food. He wants to seek cooperation, so you will answer him with that excuse. I brought him here. I shall reject a client brought by you. Ashley was a little surprised. He just wants to use us as the scapegoat. Irina pursed her lips, as she had seen through Mag's thoughts. Ashley was thoughtful, but she wasn't annoyed. Mr. Mag was the Night Elves' most important partner. Be it helping them get out of the lockdown, or helping them out after they arrived at Chaos City and getting them settled in Chaos City, these things were all enough to let the Night Elves treat him as a VIP. Now, he was even handing such an important industry to them with such trust and care. She naturally wouldn't reject helping him with such a small issue. Hector received the invitation to come into the factory and it was the person in charge of the printing house, Miss Ashley, a beautiful and demure elf who received him. However, after he said his request to collaborate, the other party declined his request with the excuse of insufficient output. How was it, boss? Garland asked softly after he saw that Hector went in swiftly and came out shortly. It didn't work out. Hector shook his head. He looked at the vintage-looking building and sighed. They said their output is currently insufficient and that they can only print the picture books for now, but that they will work with us after the output increases. So, it means that, the output is all taken up by Boss Mag. Garland was slightly shocked, but he still consoled him. It's still not too bad. At least the other party promised to work with us after the output increases. It's considered a head start too. Hector nodded. He could only console himself like this. Mag walked out from the gates and Hector quickly lifted the curtains and said, "Mr. Mag, let me send you back." "Thank you very much." Mag didn't decline. He stepped into the warm carriage. He couldn't be bothered to hail a carriage back on such a cold day. Mag sat across from Hector and smilingly asked, "How is it? Did you succeed?" Hector chuckled and replied, "Thanks to Mr. Mag, we are 50% successful. We can collaborate once the output has increased." "That's quite good. I heard that their output is indeed not big. They can only print 1,000 picture books a day." Mag nodded. "Yes. It's all thanks to Mr. Mag's introduction." Hector buttered Mag up again. Mag could occupy the entire color printing output alone, and he even failed to steal some output away from him after promising to pay more. It was obvious that Mag had a great relationship with the Night Elves. He was someone worth knowing. Hector buttered up Mag all the way, and he tried to get some information about the color printing from Mag too. Mag enjoyed the sucking up, but he made excuses regarding all the information about color printing. Anyway, he had already found a scapegoat, so he simply said he knew nothing. "This is a small token for the children to buy sweets. Please accept it, Mr. Mag." Hector took out the previous banknote and placed it in Mag's hands. Mag flicked a glance at him. He thought, let's take it as the additional royalties for the magazine's 1,000,000 copies sales. So, he accepted it without any guilt. Gina nodded lightly and smiled again. "It's all right. I chose to stay. I am reassured hearing that they are all fine." Mag could not help but pity Gina. Seeing her smile, he said, "I'll ask them again after some time and see if we can enter the underground city through other means. If we can, I'll bring you along." "All right." Although Gina did not think Mag could find a way to enter the underground city, she still had inexplicable confidence in him. "Oh, right, boss, I would like to return to Lantist for the next few days." Gina took out the crystal ball that Dexter gave her. Within the crystal ball, there was a blue glow. Something abnormal is going on with the magical pearl of the sea. The high priest once said that this might be related to the traces of the god of the sea. "I want to go back to take a look." Mag knew she was referring to the sea trench where Lantist was it. He glanced at the crystal ball and said with a nod, "I'll accompany you there in a couple of days' time. I'll be worried if you go alone." "All right." Gina nodded obediently. She felt all warm inside. However, what is this legend of the god of the sea? Is he Lantist's god? Mag asked curiously. "Yes. After Lantist sank into the sea, we prayed to the god of the sea and formed a relationship with it so that it would protect Lantist. In the past thousands of years, the god of the sea." Gina nodded and told Mag about the legend of the god of the sea. There wasn't much difference between the gods that the various races believed in. The relationship between the god of the sea and Lantist was very obscure. One of the mediums was the magical pearl of the sea. There would occasionally be abnormal phenomena happening, and that would be seen as the will of the god of the sea, which would be interpreted by the high priest. This made Mag doubt the existence of the god of the sea. The existence of the underground city had already crushed all his thoughts and beliefs previously. The so-called gods above the 10th tier existed in the underground city, and they were called the Extraordinaires. The elder things migrated to the underground world precisely because they were unable to become gods on the Norland continent. If what the various races believed in were gods, where were they? The extraordinaires were just like any other person, but the gods were just coming up with such obscure things? That was very strange indeed. The various races did not even have very specific documentation of these gods. Even Irina, a princess who had grown up in the core power of the wind forest, had not been in contact with any so-called god. Therefore, Mag was rather interested in this so-called abnormal movement of the god of the sea. He wanted to see if it was a natural phenomenon that was turned into a mythicized, or if someone was doing something funny. Of course, the most important reason he wanted to make a trip to the boundless sea realm was that he wanted to have some seafood. Moreover, it had been a very long time since the restaurant employees went out on a team outing. The ladies could bring along their beautiful swimsuits and take a dip in the sea and relax. Hee, that's a pretty good idea. In the evening, Mia came to the restaurant early. Mia, why are you here so early today? Mag saw that Mia seemed rather troubled, so he let her in first. Boss, Mia walked in, stopped, and looked up at Mag. She pressed her lips together and said hesitantly, I am a little worried for Elizabeth. Don't worry. Everyone said that she was fine and safe. She might even be back at Dragon Island already, Mag said with a smile. He heard Irina say yesterday that Lance had returned to the Frost Dragon Island and had taken the Frost Throne back. Elizabeth returned with him. However, they had yet to come for Mia. They might have other plans, so it was not appropriate for him to reveal too much. But Mia was still worried. She took out a delicate money pouch and asked Mag, do you know ways that I can contact her? Do you need money for that? I have a few months' worth of salary here. Mag thought for a while and said, I'll ask around for you. I have a friend who happens to be in this field. I'll let you know again in a couple of days. Mia's eyes lit up and she said delightedly, all right. Thank you so much, boss. Here, this money is for you. Mia put her money pouch in Mag's hand. I don't need money to ask my friend. Keep this money for yourself. It's the hard-earned money you earned. Mag smiled and pushed the money back to Mia. Mia looked at Mag. She held the money pouch out for a while before taking it back. After that, she gave Mag a big hug. She let him go and took 2 steps back, saying seriously, Boss, I will work hard in the future. It's fine now. If you work even harder, there would be nothing for others to do. Mag stroked her head with a smile, thinking that Rankster and Elizabeth would probably come looking for her in a couple of days. He wondered if Mia would choose to return to the Frost Dragon tribe to be a princess or if she would stay here. Although he did have some selfish thoughts, Mag would still respect Mia's decision. This little girl had been through too much suffering. Her father was completely absent and her mother passed away early. She had been roaming the streets as a half-dragon. Rankster really owed her too much and would probably want to make it up to her. With his current power and status, it would not be difficult to provide her with a comfortable life. Besides, with Elizabeth around, even if she was to return to Frost Dragon Island, she would not be lonely. I wonder if Big Sister Elizabeth found her father, Mia mumbled softly, a little worried and a little expectant. Mag nodded slightly and said, perhaps. She looked so hard she probably found him. It would be great if she found him, Mia said with a smile. How is the ice cream shop doing recently? Can you cope? Mag changed the topic. It is rather busy. The children have not started school yet, so many parents bring their children to the ice cream shop to play. That way, they would not be lonely. Mia nodded and said with a smile, but Gina is probably the busiest. She's the only one who could handle the naughtiest children and crybabies. Mag smiled upon hearing that. Gina's talent in that was indeed admirable. Right, during the period when you were out, a missionary had been coming to Mamie restaurant often to wait. He said he was looking for little Amy but did not say what it was about. Sometimes, he would just sit at the door for the entire afternoon. However, he hasn't been coming this week. I almost forgot about it, Mia said suddenly. He didn't come these few days, so it probably isn't anything urgent, Mag said. Amy's pair of invisible wings were given by the Pope. That fellow wanted to get Amy to become a holy maiden, but Mag would not want Amy to leave home to become a holy maiden at such a young age. It would be a big no even if the Pope himself asked. There's nothing good about a holy see that was on a decline. I heard from Angela that the Holy See in the Roth Empire is very impressive. Even the coronation of the king of the Roth Empire was done by the Pope, Mia said curiously. That's just a ceremony. The Pope is not that impressive, Mag said with a smile. However, a thought did flash past his mind. The Holy See did have a very unique status in the Roth Empire. During the racial war, the Holy See was very respected. Through the Holy See's meeting, the Pope could crown anyone to be the leader of the country, which was the so-called divine rights of kings. However, after the racial war ended, the Roth Empire was formed. The country started gathering those loyal to the king, and the Holy See's existence and power were continually weakened by the succeeding kings. Now, it was just like a mascot that would only appear during important events. The Holy See, which once saw the humans out of a dark era, was only left with their impressive appearance. However, according to procedures, the divine rights of kings still existed, and the Pope still had the power to coronate the king in name. This was the interesting part. Why don't I find the old fellow for a chat when I have the time later? Mag thought to himself. The best way to bring down Andrei's rule would naturally be from the inside. Are you preparing for opening at night? Is there anything I can help with? Mia asked Mag, who was spacing out. You can sit over there and play with Ugly Duckling. Leave the kitchen to me. Mag pointed to Ugly Duckling, who was laying on the counter, and said, it's getting too fat recently. Let it move around more. There are cat toys under the counter. All right. Yabimiya walked over to the counter with a smile. She pulled out a thin cat wand toy, with a furry grey squirrel hung on one end, from under the counter. The squirrel had a long tail and a little bell tied to it. Mia called out to Ugly Duckling, Ugly Duckling, come, let's play. Ugly Duckling glanced at Mia disinterestedly and looked away as it closed its eyes. Stupid half-dragon. Do you think I'll play with you? Ding! The bell rang. Ugly Duckling's folded ears pricked right up. Its long eyelashes fluttered, but it still could not resist the urge. Get up! Mia swayed the cat wand toy before Ugly Duckling. The little squirrel's tail grazed past Ugly Duckling's nose. Ugly Duckling opened its eyes immediately and smacked right at the little squirrel. Mia reacted quickly, lifting her wrist up gently. The cat wand toy bent into an arch, and the little squirrel grazed past Ugly Duckling's paws and was flung into the air. Ugly Duckling changed its laying position quickly and used all its strength from its four limbs to pounce at the little squirrel. Mia turned her wrist and the cat wand toy turned downwards quickly. The little squirrel slipped through Ugly Duckling's paws and landed on the floor, grazing past its face. Ugly Duckling's eyes widened immediately. It had already leaped off the counter and onto the ground. Luckily, it was thick enough, and when it fell onto the ground, it even rebounded a little. After that, it rolled 2 times forward before coming to a stop. Hee hee hee. Ugly Duckling, you're so stupid. Mia could not stop laughing. Ugly Duckling lay belly up, on the floor helplessly. My glorious lifetime is ruined in the hands of this woman. Ding ding ding, the bell rang once again. Although it was very much against it, Ugly Duckling's body still reacted very honestly to give chase to that little squirrel. Don't run. Stop. You stupid mouse. Mag watched Mia tease Ugly Duckling and smiled. This little thing was definitely no ordinary species. It even dared to growl at Ozzy, and in just a few months, it had reached a weight of 10 kilos. It was only a matter of time before its bed would collapse under its weight. Tisk tisk, is Ugly Duckling working hard to lose weight today? Amy walked in and happened to see Ugly Duckling running around the place. Upon hearing Amy's voice, Ugly Duckling, who was concentrating on chasing the little squirrel, lost its footing and fell straight from the beam. Luckily, Amy reacted fast enough and kicked it to the wall, so that it would not fall onto the ground. Its skin is getting very bouncy. Mia caught Ugly Duckling, who rebounded from the wall and rubbed its chubby face. Ugly Duckling. Amy hung her bag on the hanger behind the counter and told Ugly Duckling, "If you grow any fatter, I'll send you to the school's soccer team, so they won't have to keep picking up balls." Ugly Duckling, 00. If you don't want to become a soccer ball, you better run 10 rounds around the restaurant before dinner. Amy took Ugly Duckling down from Mia's arms and placed it on the floor. After that, she touched its fat paws and said, "Look, your legs are gone. I even wanted to ride around on you in the future. Do you want to roll around everywhere?" Ugly Duckling raised its short legs in protest. "Too short means they're gone." Ugly Duckling looked at Amy's legs. Amy gave it a mighty kick. Swoosh! Ugly Duckling started sprinting around the restaurant and became an orange whirl of wind. Its speed was amazing. "Good, run another 20 rounds." Amy praised. The running whirlwind skidded and banged its head against the wall. After a while, it started running again. Mag watched on with a smile. Ugly Duckling was Amy's pet, so he would not interfere with how she would like to teach it. Besides, it was just as Amy said. As a magic beast, Ugly Duckling was too lazy and was lacking in training. If it continued to grow fatter, going out of the door would be a problem, much less being on the battlefield in the future. One had to know that a beastmaster would usually train magic beasts from when they were young. The beastlings would have to undergo different battle training, taming, and other horrible sufferings. Making Ugly Duckling run tens of rounds around the restaurant was really very kind. "Father, I heard Jessica say that in a week, she would be going to Hope Primary School," Amy told Mag, who was grinding soybeans as she walked to the kitchen door. "Teacher Luna's Hope Primary School has accepted several children for the coming semester, but has the date and time for school reopening been set?" Mag asked with a smile. "Yes," Amy said with a nod, "I would like to buy Jessica a school reopening present. Can I give her a school bag? I would like to make one myself." Elf. Mag also believed that she could learn things easily. It was also a good chance for the little one to train by cultivating some handicraft abilities that she was interested in. "Let me find you a tutorial that you can follow." Mag walked out of the kitchen. He took the tablet and found a simpler cloth school bag tutorial for Amy. After that, he went upstairs and found a thick, pink, waterproof cloth for Amy. That would be more than enough to make a school bag. "Thank you, Father." Amy carried the tablet and watched seriously behind the counter. She held a pair of large scissors in one hand as she copied what she saw in the video. Mag watched as Amy cut out a crooked line on the cloth seriously. His eyelids twitched and he turned to walk back into the kitchen. Indeed, she could learn things easily but not necessarily do them well. So be it. In any case, her system would be the one who was anxious if she was unable to complete the mission. As her father, all Mag needed to do was to provide sufficient materials. After 10 minutes, Amy looked at the piece of cloth that appeared as though a rat had chewed it. She blinked and then looked at the perfect square cloth in the teacher's hands in the video. She nodded with satisfaction and said, "The one I cut out looks nicer indeed." Yabimiya and Annie, who were watching from the side, were holding back their laughter. "Actually, I purposely cut it like this so that it would look wavy," Amy explained. Annie took a pencil from the side and drew a wavy line on the cloth that Amy had cut out. After that, she pointed at it, motioning Amy to cut along the line. "I'll give it a try." Amy picked up the scissors again and cut along the line Annie drew. In no time at all, the cloth with a simple wavy edge appeared. "Now it looks so much neater," Mia complimented. "Thank you, big sister Annie." Annie looked at the cloth in her hands happily. The next step, sewing. Firstly, she would need a needle and a strong thread. Mag had already prepared all these things for her. After quite a while, Amy managed to thread the needle. After that, she copied the teacher in the video and started sewing. However, after just a few stitches, Annie stopped her. She loosened the thread to spread the cloth out again. After that, she used a pencil to draw small dots on the edge of the cloth, which were equal distance apart, and motioned for Amy to sew along the dots. Wow, this is so much more convenient. I won't have to worry about it being crooked. Amy's eyes lit up and she looked at Annie with admiration. You're so smart. Annie smiled. She stood at the side and watched Amy sew with interest, and would help Amy detangle her thread from time to time. Under Annie's watch, Amy made a simple little school bag in about half an hour. The stiff, waterproof cloth gave the bag a shape. The pink little school bag even had wavy edges. If one were to overlook the ends of the thread, the bag actually looked rather well done. Annie used her shoulders as a gauge and added 2 straps to the bag. After that, she tried carrying the bag. It looked pretty good. It's rather pretty. Our Amy baby knows how to make a bag, Mag said with a smile when he poked his head out from the kitchen and saw the bag on Amy's shoulders. The little one actually succeeded on her first try, and that took him by surprise. Amy smiled proudly and said, "Hee hee, I said I'm good." After turning one round with the bag on her shoulders, Amy put the school bag down and looked at the empty cloth at the back. She could not help but wonder, it seems to lack something. I'll draw something on it for you. Annie signed. Amy's eyes lit up, but she quickly shook her head. No, I have to do it on my own. Annie thought for a while and signed, in that case, I'll draw it on a cloth for you and you can cut it out and sew it on. That way, you made it on your own. All right, all right. Big sister Annie, you're so smart. Annie nodded. Annie thought for a while and drew the back view of 2 young ladies holding hands on a piece of white cloth. After that, she added a round orange by the side. It's me and Jessica. Amy exclaimed. She looked at the round orange and said, "Can you leave Ugly Duckling out? It looks a little ugly." Ugly Duckling, meow meow. It's very cute. Annie reached her hand out and caressed Ugly Duckling's head. Meow. Ugly Duckling closed its eyes and used its head to caress Annie's hand. Favorability +1. Alright, I'll keep it. Amy took the scissors and started cutting the silhouettes out. After that, she sewed them on the bag. The empty space looked lively now that the 2 girls and Ugly Duckling were added to it, making the bag look much cuter. It looks good. Jessica will definitely love it. Amy said happily as she carried the bag. Congratulations on completing your mission to make your own school bag. You have gained the title of Novice Tailor and obtained mastery in tailoring. The system's voice rang in Amy's head. Mastery in tailoring obtained? What is that? Amy asked with a tilt of her head. After absorbing the experience bag, you will gain the life experience of a professional tailor. You would be able to perfectly replicate any complicated clothing designs. That is the mastery in tailoring, the system replied. Doesn't sound like much. I don't want to be a tailor. Amy was disinterested. Life experience system. This batch of hosts is difficult indeed. What a prized skill that could make one climb all the way to the top in an industry. She actually said, doesn't sound like much. However, it did make some sense. For those who did not wish to become tailors, this skill did seem rather useless. Little mistress, don't you want to become an excellent fashion designer? Don't you want to be a well-respected tailor? The chance is right in front of you right now. All you need to do is pick up a pair of scissors and you can be a god in the tailoring world. The system tried to encourage Amy. No, I do not. Amy rejected it outrightly. However, she did pick up that pair of scissors and cut out an exquisite little flower casually using 2 pieces of cloth and stuck it on Ugly Duckling's head. After that, she smiled happily. What a beautiful flower! Annie looked at the flower, and then at Amy, in shock. How could she cut out such an exquisite little flower without any guidelines after just a short amount of time? Ugly Duckling cowered in Annie's embrace with a bad feeling. I'll make Ugly Duckling something to wear. Everyone is wearing clothes and it's the only one that is naked. Shameful. Amy started looking for suitable cloth among the materials. Ugly Duckling reached its fat paws out to indicate that it had a natural fur coat. However, Amy ignored it. I'll make something pink. Maybe it'll make it look cuter. Amy picked up the leftover pink cloth and held it against Ugly Duckling. After a while, she started cutting the cloth up. Mia, who was just watching the show from the side, started to open her mouth wider. Amy, who could not even cut a straight line before, was now cutting out symmetrical curves which were even more accurate than the lines Annie drew for her just now. The cloth was quickly cut into shape. Annie and Mia were both shocked by her skills and her look of ease. After cutting the cloth up, Amy picked up the needle and thread at the side and started sewing. This time, she no longer had running thread ends. The stitches were even and close, and on top of that, they were hidden perfectly in the garment. Most tailors won't be able to obtain this level of mastery. How did Amy baby suddenly learn all that? Mia exclaimed. She was someone who could barely patch her clothes properly. Upon hearing that, Mag walked out of the kitchen. He watched as Amy stitched the cloth together and raised an eyebrow. It looked like the system's reward had been credited. It was probably related to tailoring. It did look quite good, but this was a rather useless reward. Who would have so many clothes at home to tailor? One would have to go out and spend money on clothes to experience the charm of money. Women had many sources of joy, and if she were to make her own clothes, wouldn't she be removing one of the biggest joys? Very quickly, Amy was done making a new raincoat for Ugly Duckling. Ugly Duckling, come and try your new raincoat. Amy beckoned Ugly Duckling over. Ugly Duckling glanced at the pink raincoat in Amy's hands and was a little resistant. However, it still crawled out of Annie's embrace obediently and leaped over to Amy. Amy carried it over and put the raincoat over it. The cloth was a little stiff and water-resistant, so Amy designed it to be a raincoat. The raincoat around the waist area was cinched in, and so were the areas around the four legs, so that the raincoat would not drag on the ground. After its fur coat was contained by the raincoat, Ugly Duckling appeared much smaller. A hood was also designed for Ugly Duckling's head, and there were even two small ears added to the hood, which fitted its ears perfectly. The pink color, paired up with Ugly Duckling's round face and large eyes, made it look very cute. Good girl. Mia pinched Ugly Duckling's fat face and said with a smile, "Now, you've become little sister Ugly Duckling." Annie looked at Ugly Duckling in admiration and stuck out her thumb at Amy, saying, "Looks good. Amy baby is very impressive. You can even make clothes now." "I can't even thread a needle," Ferris exclaimed as she peeked out of the kitchen. "Yet. Your skills are better than our family's tailor." Babla looked at Ugly Duckling in surprise. It was her favorite color, pink. After that, she looked at Amy and said with a smile, "Amy baby, why don't you make me a dress? I'll give you some sweets." "What sweets?" Amy's eyes lit up upon hearing about food. "It's the moon sweet that is only found on the moon. I got them to bring some for me the next time they drop by. It's soft and sweet. Very delicious. Babla highly recommended them." All right. I want to try the moon sweet." Amy swallowed her saliva. She looked at Babla and said, "In that case, big sister Babla, what kind of dress would you like?" "I want." Babla was stumped. She wanted a pretty dress, but this was obviously not the answer Amy was looking for. She looked around and asked Annie, "Annie baby, can you design a beautiful little dress for me? I'll get them to bring a coloring book from the moon next time. There are many impressive artists in Moon Nation." Annie looked interested, and after thinking for a while, she agreed. "Good. Babla smiled. Annie could draw beautiful clothes. She's a reliable person to depend on for designing. While the others exclaimed, they were not in a hurry to pre-order their clothes. After all, Amy could not even hold the scissors properly previously. The leap from that to a master in tailoring was rather big. Amy admired her work for a while and removed the raincoat for Ugly Duckling. This material was rather stiff and would be suitable to wear for show but not comfortable to wear on a day-to-day basis. She would go upstairs to search a little for a more comfortable material to make a new shirt for Ugly Duckling. Tailoring seemed rather fun. Amy felt a huge sense of accomplishment after receiving praises from everyone. She was no longer that resistant to being a tailor. Of course, the most important thing was that she could tailor clothes in exchange for food. Young mistress, the factory production right now can be expanded. We could perhaps consider opening a branch. This is the report for Rodu, Demon Islands, and Dragon Island. Mars placed a thick stack of information on Gloria's table. Gloria did not look over the information immediately. Instead, she looked at Mars and said, "Which area is the best to open our first branch?" According to the report, Rodu should be the best because there are the most nobility in Rodu that have high purchasing power. On top of that, humans have a more consistent figure, so it would be easier to control our clothes sizing. This would largely reduce our cost for materials compared to the other races that differ greatly in size. This is also something we learned through experience in Blue Suede, Mars replied. It aligns with my thinking. If we were to open a new shop in Rodu, we can use the same batch of products as Blue Suede. Gloria nodded. She looked at Mars and said, "I need someone with capabilities to open up a new market in Rodu. Mars, I might need you to go there." Mars was rather surprised. He said, "Young mistress, I am more willing to stay by your side to help you. You know it too. I don't have many people around me that I trust. Cyril and grandmother are back and have been kicking up a fuss recently. I need better results to shut their mouths," Gloria said. "Thank you for your trust." Mars bowed. After that, he stood up straight and said, "I am willing to go to Rodu on your behalf to open up a new market." Meanwhile, Milo abided by orders to stand guard at Chaos City. His job was to eat at Mamie restaurant every day and at the same time, take note of news from the printing house. At the same time, he would have to submit 3 articles on Mamie restaurant's delicacies every month. His workload had tripled, but he gladly accepted it for the 3,000 copper coins meal every day. Although Boss Mag had personally penned his columns, the readers were not satisfied with that short piece. Milo loved the life of being able to enjoy delicacies and ride on Boss Mag's popularity. "Milo, I heard that Perfect Food is relying on Boss Mag to make an epic comeback." Randy, who was queuing diagonally behind Milo, greeted him with a smile. "Yet. We broke the 1,000,000 sales record." Milo turned back with a smile. He appeared rather proud, and just as he was about to add on with something else to continue boasting, he saw the young lady standing beside Randy, dressed in an elegant maxi dress. She looked mature, charming, and sexy. Suddenly, Milo was not that happy anymore. Boss Mag is a talent indeed. If he were to change professions, you would lose your job, Randy said with a smile as he put his arm around the young lady's soft and slender waist. Yes, he was referring to them. Randy was no longer relying on his writing for a living. He was living off a high-class woman. It's all right. Although Boss Mag always comes out with good food, there is a limited supply, so there's no problem making a living off it, Milo said. Why were the rich women he heard about big, thick, unglamorous women with odd fetishes, but the evidence clearly completely different for Randy. "Betty, this is the food critic, Milo, I mentioned to you. He is quite popular in the industry, almost like me, your husband," Randy introduced to the rich woman in his embrace. "Hi, Mr. Milo." Betty nodded at Milo. "Hello," Milo quickly greeted back, wondering why Randy started introducing the rich woman to him all of a sudden. "Betty, didn't you say a couple of days ago that you have a close friend that is feeling rather down and doesn't have an appetite? Why don't we introduce her to Milo while he's in Chaos City? He is a professional when it comes to food, Randy said with a smile. Milo was stunned. He looked at Randy. What's going on? Randy winked at him and gave him the you-know-it look. Betty sized Milo up and appeared rather hesitant. She whispered to Randy, Trifana likes handsome young lads. Your friend, might not be her type. One would get tired of handsome young lads. Look, didn't she get her heart broken because of a handsome young lad? Why don't we let her have a change of taste? Perhaps what she needs is the warm embrace of someone meatier, Randy said with a smile. While he spoke, he even breathed gently in her ear. Betty's ears were red. When Randy breathed in her ear, she laughed and nodded, saying, Where do you stay, Mr. Milo? I have a friend. Maybe the two of you could meet up. Milo wanted to reject the offer. As a big man weighing over 100 kilos, he would never live off a woman. However, he glanced at the corner of Randy's shirt which was tucked in, and saw a bunch of keys. He swallowed back the words that were at the tip of his tongue, thinking that if the rich woman was just like Randy's it did not seem like a bad deal. I am living in SAHDR Travel Lodge. I will be staying in Chaos City for this period of time and I am rather free. It would be my honor to meet that lady for a meal, Milo said with a smile. Randy motioned a thumbs up with the arm that was resting by his body. The restaurant door opened. Randy invited Milo to join them at their table. At the table, Randy managed to fish out a lot of information from Betty. After the meal, the three walked out of the restaurant. Randy waved at Betty and said, Go back to our 8-horse-drawn carriage first. I'll chat a while more with my friend. All right, I'll wait for you. Betty gave him a meaningful glance and sauntered off. Bro, you're very good at freeloading. I take my hats off to you. Milo looked at Randy with admiration. Randy put his arm around Milo's shoulder and brought him to the side as he said softly, Don't say that I'm not giving you a hand. Here's your chance. You got to grab hold of it. Her sister, Trifana, has been a widow for 3 years. She owns a mine. If you can handle her, you would not have to write a single word for the rest of your life. Well, I'm afraid I can't handle her. Milo shook his head and sighed as he said defeatedly, You know it too, I am not tactful with my words. Be courageous, meticulous, and thick-skinned. All you need to win a rich woman over are these 3 points. Oh, right. Don't go all out to curry their favor. That would not fit our image as literary people. If you do that, you would just be played with for a while and then kicked away, Randy preached. I can't curry her favor? Then all my boot-licking skills are useless. You have to be reserved. The best case scenario is if she comes currying your favor. That's the way to go. Randy patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, You are the cornerstone of perfect food. Bring out your professionalism and no woman would be able to resist you. Professionalism? In that case it would be talking about food. Milo thought for a while and seemed to have understood a little. I'll be off. Someone will probably look for you tomorrow. Wait in the travel lodge, and go find a good hair salon to tidy yourself up at. Find some fitting clothes too. Randy walked away with a smile towards a horse-drawn carriage parked nearby. When he reached the horse-drawn carriage, Betty was already waiting for him with the door open. I have to get a hairdo too. Milo stroked his prickly chin and curly hair. He mumbled to himself and walked towards a hair salon close by. He was not doing it to be a freeloader. He was merely providing a depressed, rich lady with a warm home. Are you trying to make your literary friend stay in Chaos City? Betty said breathlessly as she leaned on Randy, her face flushed red, allowing his naughty hands to wreak havoc under her clothes. Randy stroked, caressed, twirled, fondled, and felt the softness at his fingertips, while looking reserved and cold as he said calmly, It is the fortune of this city to have young talented people stay behind. However, not everyone could reach Chaos City so easily. An example would be Vanessa, living far away in the palace at Rodu. She watched her mother cry every day until her eyes were red and swollen, but she did not know what to say to comfort her. A few days ago, news of the victory came from the front line, but at the same time, came another news. It was like a bolt of lightning in the middle of the day, shattering her royal mother's heart. Josh was dead. Her second brother was dead. Although they were all saying that he was a bad guy, a fool who sold his soul to the devil, a scoundrel who almost destroyed this world, in her memory, most of the time, he was a very gentle brother, a brother who would sneak good food for her, a brother who would stand out to defend her when others mocked her. She was glad that the Allied forces won against the army of the dead and that the Norland continent was spared from annihilation. However, she could not bring her spirits up upon hearing the news of Josh's death. Her mother doted on her second brother the most. When they heard that he had turned into the devil's puppet before, her mother could not stop worrying. She was unable to sleep and recently she had been crying non-stop. She could not eat anything and was growing thinner and frilier by the day. This made Vanessa's heart hurt a lot. Royal mother, have some porridge. I'll feed you some. Vanessa took over a bowl of warm red bean porridge from the palace maid. This was her royal mother's favorite dessert. However, when the red bean porridge was brought to the queen's mouth, the scent of it made her gag. She threw up a few mouthfuls of stomach acid and waved her hands weakly. Vanessa passed the porridge back to the palace maid and wiped the queen's mouth with a silk handkerchief. The royal physician said that the queen was too upset and this was a psychological illness. If she continues to starve, it would be difficult for her to pull through. For the past 2 days, she had been surviving on forcing her to eat a few mouthfuls of magic potions. Royal mother, royal mother. Vanessa hugged the queen gently and cried. Your father is too ruthless. If he had chosen Sean as the crown prince back then and not given Josh any hope, Josh would never have lost his life for the throne. 2 children fighting for a throne. He's forcing me to lose a child. The queen threw up a mouthful of blood, which stained the corner of her lips, making her face look paler in contrast. The palace maids all lowered their heads in fear silently. Royal mother, I'll bring you out for a walk. Let's go to Chaos City, to Mamie restaurant. I'll bring you to eat good food. Let's go out and enjoy ourselves. Vanessa picked up a thick coat and put it around the queen. After that, she ordered, prepare our flying steeds. I want to bring the queen to Chaos City overnight. Your Highness, it's already late at night. Besides, Her Majesty is very weak. I'm afraid His Majesty would not allow you to leave the palace right now, the chief palace maid said hesitantly. The princess was rather willful in her actions and they could not afford to be responsible for that. You. Vanessa frowned. She knew that she did not have the power as well. I want to go. Just then, the queen, who had been spacing out, suddenly sat up straight. She looked at the palace maid and said, report to His Majesty. I want to leave the palace. Yes, the palace maid replied and left hurriedly. Royal mother. Vanessa was overjoyed to see that her mother seemed to be a little more energetic. Help me get changed. The queen might not be able to hide the exhaustion on her face, but her voice was resolute. The palace maids started hustling around, helping the queen change into thick and warm clothes, with an extra fur coat on the outside. The palace maid from before came back quickly saying that His Majesty had agreed to let the queen and the princess leave the palace and that their flying steeds were ready. Vanessa was surprised that her father would agree. She quickly helped the queen up on a large flying steed. There was a luxurious traveling palace on its wide back. This was a golden-winged eagle that only the king would ride on when he left the palace. To Chaos City. Vanessa ordered. Tens of flying steeds took to the skies towards the south. After leaving the city, the queen, who had not spoken all the while, suddenly said, tell them to turn around. We're heading north. North? Royal mother, aren't we going to Chaos City? Vanessa asked in shock. She wanted to use her ties with Boss Mag to request that he cook a meal for her mother when they arrive, since it would be very late at night by the time they reached. However, her mother had other thoughts and wanted to go to the north. I want to go over personally to see Josh. Otherwise, I would not be able to rest in peace. The Queen was insistent. But, do you want me to go out to make the order? The Queen looked at Vanessa. Vanessa's heart sank. She turned around and said, "The Queen has orders to turn around and head north, towards the front line." The order was made and the flying steeds paused. There was a little commotion outside, but the flying steeds quickly changed direction and flew northwards. Sindra still went to take a look for herself. In the highest tower of the palace, Andrei looked up at the skies, facing the north with a complicated expression. In a short span of a few days, his hair had turned white and he seemed to have aged a lot. The tens of flying steeds landed gently 5 kilometers away from where the devil was sealed. The guards had already marked the spot. Balls of fire lit up on the ice sheets and several 10th-tier guards came rushing over in their direction to surround them. "This is the garrison of the Roth Empire's Queen. Do not attack," the chief garrison shouted loudly. The guards looked at them cautiously and did not lower their weapons. One 10th-tier knight rushed over and was stunned to see the golden-winged eagle. He went up and said respectfully, "My respects to your highness. May I boldly ask what your highness wants, coming here at such an hour?" This was the Devil's Seal where the allied forces guarded together. Even if he was the Roth Empire's officer, and the person who barged in was the Queen, he would still have to act according to protocols. Sindra was helped out of the travelling palace by Vanessa. She looked at the 10th-tier knight and said, "I visited tonight and alarmed the allied forces guards unintentionally. I just wanted to take a look at my son, Josh." The guards from the various races suddenly looked hostile. Even that 10th-tier knight was taken aback. The human knights and magic casters guarding the place all looked over. The Queen's son, Josh, died on this battlefield. However, his death was nothing glorious. It was in an exchange for the lives of tens of thousands of Allied forces soldiers. The blood of the warriors had yet to dry up, but the Queen of the Roth Empire came all the way to the front line in memory of her son? This was such a preposterous and hateful thing. The guards felt disappointed and could not hide the fury in their eyes when they looked at Sindra. Vanessa had not experienced such a situation before. She subconsciously clung tightly to Sindra's arm in fear. The Queen's garrison tightened their defense and looked at the guards around them cautiously. "I hate the devil just as much as you do. However, right now, I am just a mother. I am here to take a look at the place where my child last stood. I just want to take a closer look," Sindra said, enduring the pain in her heart. That officer from the Roth Empire turned to the side to make way. The Allied forces guards all parted to form a path straight to the spell formation. Thank you." Sindra bowed deeply to the guards with Vanessa supporting her. After that, she walked slowly down the steps. They were 5 kilometers away from the core of the seal. Sindra looked at the dark silhouette standing tall in the darkness on the ice sheets and walked towards it. "Mother." Vanessa supported the Queen's feeble body and walked over on the slippery ice with her. It was too cold here. Even though she was wearing thick cotton clothes, she could feel the cold in her bones. With every breath she took, the cold air felt like an icy knife piercing through her lungs. Walking was even more difficult because of the slippery ice surface. Her mother's body was so weak, that Vanessa was worried she would collapse before she even reached. "Get Queen Sindra a snow sledge," said a dragon powerhouse. Very quickly, a snow sledge and a pack of sledge dogs were sent over. Vanessa expressed her gratitude and helped Sindra onto the snow sledge. After that, she covered Sindra with a thick blanket. A magic caster came over and cast a warmth force field over Sindra. Very quickly, the snow sledge reached the seal towering in the ice sheets. Sindra stood up and looked at the black spell formation. Tears fell. After a very long time, she looked up to the sky and said, "Josh, go on, your soul should go somewhere cleaner. I am here to visit you for one last time. I will use the rest of my life to repay the sins that you have committed. A strange gust of wind blew over the ice sheets suddenly, whirling above the seal for a while before dispersing. Syndra watched blankly and smiled. After that, she collapsed in Vanessa's arms. Royal Physician! Royal Physician! Vanessa exclaimed as she held on to Syndra. The Royal Physician and a healing magic caster went over straight away. While one diagnosed the Queen, the other used his healing magic to stabilize the Queen's condition. Your Highness, Her Majesty's condition has worsened. We can only stabilize her condition temporarily. If she still refuses to eat, I'm afraid. The Royal Physician did not finish his words, but it was already clear what he meant to say. Vanessa's expression changed, but she quickly calmed down and ordered, "Bring the Queen back to the traveling palace at once and proceed to Chaos City." After that, she jumped off the snow sledge and bowed to all the guards once again to express her gratitude and apologies. She turned back to take another look at the towering seal and the vast ice sheets before leaving on the snow sledge without looking back. After seeing the front line on the ice sheets for herself, she was suddenly not as upset because she could feel how difficult it was for the Allied forces. They had accepted the call from their leaders to fight against the army of the dead. All of this was done to protect the people behind the mountain range. Josh chose to be the puppet of the devil, and from that moment on, he was no longer the second brother she knew. His death at this place, to the Norland continent and to the millions of people of the Roth Empire, was a good thing. The flying steeds took to the skies once again and went southwards. The next morning, the sun rose slowly from behind the horizon, casting its golden rays on the ground. Syndra, who had a high temperature and had been sleeping the entire night, woke up. With the help of Vanessa, she walked to the window and happened to see the sun shining down on Chaos City, awakening the city from its deep slumber. Looking down at this large city from high above the ground, one could see the buildings of various architectural designs and styles. It was a completely different view from Rodu. A smile broke out on Syndra's pale face. She seemed to have felt the beauty of life once again. Vanessa, who had not slept a wink the entire night, saw the smile on Syndra's face and could not hide her joy. She said softly, "Royal Mother, we're at Chaos City. I'll bring you to eat Boss Mag's breakfast. Let's have tofu pudding." "All right." Syndra looked at her. She reached out and caressed Vanessa's face as she said, "I must have given you a scare over the past few days." "It's all right, as long as you're fine." Vanessa shook her head and hugged Syndra gently, saying as she choked up, "Royal Mother, I will be by your side." Syndra patted her back gently and smiled. The Queen's troops had liaised with Chaos City. The golden-winged eagle was permitted to land on Aiden Square. "This is Aiden Square. Mamie Restaurant is at the southwestern corner of the square," Vanessa told Syndra as she helped her down. Syndra looked around and said gently, "It's almost been 20 years since I last came here. You weren't even born back then." "Royal Mother, you've been to Chaos City before." Vanessa was shocked. Syndra nodded and said, "Back then, I accompanied your father on many visits. Other than the Twilight Forest, I have been to all the other lands on the Norland continent." There was a horse-drawn carriage in the traveling palace. Vanessa helped Syndra up onto the horse-drawn carriage and they headed straight to Mamie Restaurant. The sky was only just turning bright. It was just past 6 in the morning and Mamie Restaurant was not open yet. There was no one queuing outside. Vanessa looked at the feeble Syndra leaning against the walls of the horse-drawn carriage and jumped out of the carriage. She ran towards the door of the restaurant and rang the bell. She knew Boss Mag's rules, but her mother had not eaten in a very long time and she was so weak she could faint at any time. The royal physician said that if she were to faint again, she might not be able to wake up anymore. She was still unable to ingest normal food, so Vanessa's only hope fell on Mag. Vanessa rang the bell for a while before the door opened. "Vanessa." Mag was shocked to see Vanessa at the door. He had not seen Vanessa for quite a while and she seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Her eyes were red and swollen and there were 2 dark rings around her eyes. The tiredness on her face was apparent and it seemed she had not been resting well for a very long time. She did not look like the chowhound he knew back then. "Boss Mag. Please help me with one thing. Can you make breakfast for my royal mother? She has not eaten anything for 3 days and nights. The royal physician said that if she does not eat again, her life will be in danger," Vanessa said as she grabbed onto Mag's arm, as though she was grabbing onto her last hope. Mag looked at the lavish horse-drawn carriage behind Vanessa. Based on what Vanessa said just now, the Roth Empire Queen was probably sitting in the horse-drawn carriage. On the square further back, Mag could see the golden glow of the giant eagle. Vanessa came early in the morning all the way from Rodil with the Queen just to beg him to make breakfast. Although Mag was unclear about the situation, he still nodded and said, "Come on in first." Mag had already thought of the reason. Josh's death must have brought her huge pain. No matter what kind of a devil Josh was to the people, to Sindra, he was still her child that she carried in her womb for 9 months and raised up. Mag could not feel any bit of detestation for a mother like that. Instead, he suddenly wondered if that indifferent woman felt even a hint of sadness when he fell into the water and died. Mag turned to the side to make way for them as he watched Vanessa and the palace maid help Sindra into the door and to a table nearby. The heater was on in the restaurant, so the temperature was very comfortable. Vanessa helped Sindra undo her muff and hung it on the back of the chair, so that Sindra could lean comfortably. "What would you like?" Mag poured them some warm water and added a few drops of Spring of Life. "Thank you for going through the trouble." Sindra nodded at Mag. She held the crystal glass with her cold hands and felt the warmth from the water. After that, she put it to her mouth and took a sip. The sweet Spring of Life moisturized her parched lips, and when the light fragrant water slid down her throat, it was as though the arid earth had been moisturized by a spring, making her frown ease out. The Spring of Life was not considered precious to the royalty, but after slowly finishing the glass of water, the Spring of Life made her feel as though she could live again. She felt hungry and felt how weak her body was. At the same time, she had a craving for food. "Royal Mother, what would you like to eat?" Vanessa pushed the menu to Sindra while she also scanned through it. She saw several new dishes and could not help but swallow her saliva. "You can order," Sindra said with a smile. Vanessa looked for a while and said, "I'll order a serving of congee with pork and century egg for you first, and then 2 soup dumplings, and a bowl of soup." "The soup dumpling is a new dish that I haven't tried before too, but it looks pretty good." "All right." Sindra nodded. Mag looked at Vanessa, who closed the menu and asked with a smile, "How about you? What are you having?" "Me." Vanessa was shocked. She shook her head and said, "It's not operation time yet. I can't trouble you to make me food. I am already very grateful that you could cook for my mother. Try the shaved noodles. It was released just 2 days ago, and I'll bring 2 more soup dumplings." Mag smiled and turned to walk towards the kitchen, without giving Vanessa the chance to reject him. This lass was already drooling when she looked through the menu but still insisted that she was not going to eat. "Mr. Mag is such a nice person," Sindra said with a gentle smile as she looked at Mag's back view. However, when she saw Mag pick up his cleaver, she was slightly stunned. She felt that his side profile was oddly familiar, yet she could not put her finger on it. "Yes, Boss Mag is a super nice person. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to eat right now." Vanessa nodded. She propped her chin on her hand and watched Mag, who was in the kitchen. All she could see was the dough that kept changing in shape. The dough was made beforehand last night, but the dumplings and shaved noodles had to be made on the spot. Luckily, there was already congee with pork and century egg prepared for the cleaners cooking in the pot, so Mag could scoop a bowl out for Queen Sindra for her to have something. The congee with pork and century egg that was just scooped up was still piping hot. Chopped green onions decorated the surface and the fragrance of the meat was already wafting over. Sindra, who had not eaten for days, could not control her grumbling stomach when she smelled the meat. Her gaze was fixed on the porridge placed in front of her. Bits of meat hid under the snowy white congee and pieces of translucent century egg decorated the dish. The fresh green spring onions made the food look brighter. "It's a little hot, be careful, Royal Mother," Vanessa reminded Syndra softly as she placed a spoon in the bowl. Syndra found it slightly funny. When Vanessa was young, she was the one who had to remind the little one. Now, it was the other way around. At the same time, she felt all warm and fuzzy inside. Syndra scooped a spoonful of congee and blew it gently before putting it into her mouth. The warm congee melted immediately in her mouth. It had a viscous texture but was very smooth. Similarly, the meat was also very soft, and when she chewed on it gently, the fragrance of the meat exploded in her mouth. It was delicious. After swallowing the food, she felt a ball of warmth travel down her throat and into her stomach. Her stomach, which was tortured for days, was warmed up and she felt good from top to toe. The century egg was slightly springy and had a peculiar fragrance, giving this bowl of porridge a very distinct taste. Her resistance toward food was completely gone with this mouthful of congee. "Her Majesty is eating." A palace maid covered her mouth in joy. The royal chefs had been racking their brains for the past few days to make all sorts of food for the queen, but she did not even take a single bite. No one would think that this simple bowl of congee could make the queen eat. Indeed, Royal Mother knows how to appreciate Boss Mag's food. Vanessa was overjoyed as well. She was feeling very agitated before, but thankfully it worked out. Otherwise, she would not know how to answer to her royal father. Syndra took bite after bite, and in no time at all, a bowl of congee with pork and century egg was down her stomach. Syndra was stunned when she saw the empty bowl and just realized that she must have been devouring her food just now. She could not help but feel embarrassed. Luckily, there was no one in the restaurant and Mag was also busy in the kitchen, so he probably did not see her just then. "Is it good?" Vanessa asked with a smile as she helped Syndra wipe the corner of her mouth with a silk handkerchief. "It's the best congee I've had." Syndra nodded with a smile. After finishing the congee, Syndra felt as though she had regained most of her strength. She was also more energetic and she did not feel that down anymore. It felt as though there was something to look forward to in life. If that rising sun gave her the courage to start anew, this bowl of congee made her feel the beauty of life. It warmed her heart and the scrumptious taste brought her the sense of bliss she had not felt for a very long time. These are the soup dumplings. There is a simple introduction on the menu to eating it. The soup inside is very hot, so be careful. Mag brought out 2 bamboo steamers of soup dumplings. There were 3 in each steamer and they were each placed in front of Syndra and Vanessa. "Thank you, Boss Mag." Vanessa blinked at him with utmost gratitude. Mag smiled and returned to the kitchen. He was the one who killed Josh. However, he did not feel any guilt since it was an act accounting for all the past hatred, and on top of that, he was helping the people get rid of evil. This breakfast was affectionate. It was affection for Vanessa. It had nothing to do with Josh. "Let me take a look." Vanessa flipped open the menu and found the column for the soup dumpling very quickly. There was a how to eat section written at the bottom corner in small words. "Pick up the soup dumpling gently by the little tip with your chopsticks. Put the soup dumpling on your plate and bite a little hole on the top of the dumpling. Wait for the soup to cool before sipping on it. Lastly, eat the dumpling skin and filling." Vanessa read out loud as she picked up the soup dumpling according to the instructions. The round soup dumpling was elongated because of the weight and looked as though it was about to burst open. However, it hung on firmly and Vanessa managed to move it successfully onto her plate. "Success!" Vanessa exclaimed while she let out a heave of relief. To think that this thin, translucent skin could be so tough. Syndra thought it looked interesting. She placed a soup dumpling carefully in her bowl, afraid that she would tear it or drop it on the table. She was clenching her other hand tightly into a fist due to the nerves. After the two exchanged a few glances, Sindra, who was already salivating, could not resist the urge anymore. She poked the dumpling and it felt warm to touch. She said, "I think it's ready." As she said that, she leaned over and bit a small hole on the dumpling's skin. The soup rushed right into her mouth immediately. Tssss. Hot. The soup dumpling that was just served might feel warm on the outside, but the soup inside was still scalding hot. One bite and the fresh soup flooded into her mouth. The fragrance of the crab roe was so alluring. The soup was so delicious that it woke her taste buds up immediately. As for the scald, before it could even happen, the scrumptious taste had already overwhelmed it. In no time at all, Sindra had finished the soup and only the dumpling skin and filling were left. The skin was chewy and the meat filling that had been submerged in the soup was fatty but not greasy. Together with the crab meat and crab roe, it was a taste that sent Sindra to cloud nine. If the congee with pork and century egg was just an appetizer, this extremely delicious soup dumpling was the one that made her experience the beauty of delicacies and the joy of living. Yes. Only when you are living can you experience such magical food. She could enjoy both the soup, the chewiness of the dumpling skin, and the tastiness of the meat. The little soup dumpling incorporated the chef's innovation to bring customers such a special experience. It really interested her. A deeper desire from within rose. Sindra wanted to see for herself how the soup dumpling was made. How was the soup wrapped into the thin dumpling skin? With her status, Sindra had never stepped foot into the kitchen, much less cooked. This thought made her shake her head with a smile. This is too good. Boss Mag secretly made such a delicious breakfast behind my back. Vanessa, who had also eaten a soup dumpling, exclaimed excitedly. The delicious soup dumpling brought joy and hope to the exhausted and depressed mother and daughter, even making them forget their sorrows momentarily. There are good things in life too, right? They sipped on the soup and chewed on the filling and dumpling skin, tasting the delicacies that one would not be able to get even in the palace in Rodu. Gulp. The palace maid at the side swallowed her saliva and shifted her gaze. As the queen's personal palace maid, she was professionally trained and would not crave for even the best delicacies. However, her defenses came crumbling down today when she saw the queen and princess eat this soup dumpling, and when she smelled the fragrance of the crab roe and meat filling. What heavenly smell is that? She had never felt such an impact despite delivering various delicacies from the royal kitchen to the inner palace every day. Of course, the most important thing was curiosity. What would a soup dumpling with such a heavenly smell taste like? What's the difference between normal meat soup and the soup wrapped within the thin soup dumpling? Vanessa bit onto her third soup dumpling. She leaned forward and sipped softly. Just when she looked up, she saw Mag holding a lump of dough in one hand and the cleaver in another hand, slicing up pieces of dough. The pieces of dough flew out from the lump of dough and leaped into a boiling pot of soup like silver fishes. Mag moved smoothly, connecting his movements gracefully. Vanessa did not want to let go of the dumpling in her mouth, so she motioned Sindra with her hand to look toward the kitchen. Sindra turned to look and was surprised. The scene of Mag slicing the dough looked like an artistic performance. His actions were adept and natural and he looked calm but full of life. In no time at all, the last piece of dough landed in the pot. Mag put away his cleaver and put the dough down. He picked up his spatula and started getting busy. Very quickly, Mag brought out a bowl of red braised beef shaved noodles from the kitchen and put it in front of Vanessa. The beef slices covered the entire surface of the bowl and it looked very satisfying. Boss Mag, did you add meat especially for me? Vanessa asked Mag as her eyes glittered. No, every customer gets the same dish. Mag shook his head. He doesn't even know how to make a girl happy. Vanessa pouted. What a daft man. But I added an egg, Mag said with a smile and turned to walk into the kitchen. Vanessa used her chopsticks to peel the beef slices away and saw an egg fried to perfection. She smiled sweetly. Vanessa took out a small bowl and put some shaved noodles in it for Sindra, and scooped some red braised beef to split the portion up. I am already full. Sindra was about to finish her words when Vanessa put a piece of red braised beef into her mouth. The tender red braised beef melted almost immediately in her mouth, but it was still chewy. The fragrance of the beef was brought out completely by the seasoning, and the more she chewed the better it tasted. The taste lingered in her mouth and enchanted her. I think I can eat a little more. Sindra pulled the bowl over and scooped up some shaved noodles. The shaved noodles were as fair as white jade, and they were much broader than the usual noodles she saw. On top of that, the noodles were not evenly shaped square pieces but more like willow leaves. They were thin on the sides and thicker in the middle with obvious sharp ends. After a moment of slurping, the small bowl of shaved noodles was gone. This time, Sindra really felt full. Although she had eaten quite a lot during this meal, she did not feel groggy, as she had not eaten for 3 days. Instead, she felt energized and warm. It was a very comfortable feeling. She leaned back comfortably and smiled as she watched Vanessa eat seriously. For a lady, the way she ate was not elegant enough, but to Sindra, it was very cute. All that mattered was that Vanessa was happy. Elegance and such did not seem to matter at all. Vanessa took a bite from the fried egg. The soft egg was submerged in the thick soup, so it had a little beef fragrance. Royal Mother, do you want some more? Vanessa asked Sindra after swallowing the egg. I'm already full. I can't even eat the soybean milk that hasn't been served yet. Sindra shook her head with a smile. She was not a big eater to begin with and was already shocked at how much she could eat this morning. Vanessa smiled and said with a nod, in that case, when we're done eating later, I'll bring you out to play. There are many fun places in Chaos City that you definitely haven't been to before when you came with Royal Father previously. All right. Sindra nodded. After finishing the bowl of shaved noodles and 3 soup dumplings, Vanessa felt that her exhaustion was completely wiped out. She was re-energized. Boss Mag, I'll foot the bill. Vanessa stood up and skipped to the kitchen door as she watched Mag make tofu pudding. I'll treat this meal, Mag said with a smile as he turned his head to look at her. No way. You made such a sumptuous breakfast for us early in the morning, which is adding more to your burden. How could we eat for free? Vanessa swallowed her saliva when she saw the large pot of tofu pudding Mag was making. She pulled out her money pouch and placed a handful of dragon coins on the counter. Thank you. Vanessa bowed at Mag and blinked mischievously at him. I shall not disturb you further, I'll bring my mother out to play. Thank you, sir. Sindra stood up and thanked Mag as well. After seeing Chaos City today, Sindra had decided to live once again. However, the breakfast at Mamie restaurant made her come to a decision. This time, she wanted to live differently. You're too courteous. Mag nodded. To him, it was just making breakfast for his friends. It was no big deal. After watching the two leave, Mag placed half of the pile of dragon coins on the counter into his pocket, and before he could put the other half into the money box, Irina's voice came from the stairway. Wow, fancy a big business knocking on the door before we even open. Irina, who was dressed in a thin nightgown, walked down with a smile. Her voluptuous figure could be seen a little through the thin dress. When she reached Mag, she put her arms around his neck and whispered in his ear, "Is it enough? If it isn't, you can take a little more." A faint fragrance wafted into his nose. The breath by his ears was like a gentle breeze and her voice was smooth and alluring, but the words she said made Mag freeze. It should be enough to buy the groceries for today. Mag nodded naturally. He pulled out a money pouch that was labeled for groceries and said, "Do you want to count it?" Irina glanced at the money pouch with interest and drew circles on his chest with her finger as she said with a smile, "You've really put in a lot of effort for this family. It is only right that I do that in order to provide a good life for all of you," Mag said righteously. Irina laughed and let go of Mag. She turned to sit on the chair nearby and said with a smile, "Why did Vanessa bring Sindra over?" Mag looked at her charming smile. His heart skipped a beat. He was the only one who could admire such a beautiful view. After all, in the eyes of outsiders, Irina was the high and mighty elf princess and also a terrifying 10th-tier magic caster. However, in front of him, she was a woman with no burdens or responsibilities. She could flirt with him and joke with him. Occasionally, she would scold him. She was more down to earth but also cute and interesting. Treatment, Mag said. Finding you for treatment? Irina was puzzled. If she knew Josh died in our hands, she would probably throw up blood. To be exact, Josh died in the hands of the devil. It has nothing to do with us. The one who died was merely a soulless shell. Mag shook his head and sighed. It was too easy on him. I doubt it. For a proud person whose goal was the entire world, he would most probably be in despair and unwilling to end up having his soul swallowed, Irina said with a smile. She could not feel any sense of sympathy for the fellow who almost killed Mag and Amy, and drove their family into a corner. This was a favor for Vanessa. That lass was sensible and she gave a lot, Mag told Irina with a smile. What would you like to have for breakfast? You. Irina looked intensely at his mouth. Mag lifted his wrist and glanced at his watch. He shook his head and said, not enough time. Sometimes, being able to hold on for too long is not a good thing. In that case, a bowl of shaved noodles. Irina leaned lazily against the chain and told Mag, who was walking into the kitchen, say, what identity should I use to stay in Mamie restaurant? Those young ladies look at you as though they cannot wait to eat you alive. If you just beckon them, they would probably wash themselves cleanly and send themselves right to your doorstep. This is not a good thing. I think it has to change. I think it's pretty good. Being lovable is something to be happy about. Mag said righteously, I am Boss Mag, the man who would not waver easily. Not just anyone can seduce me. Is that so? Irina smiled. I think the orc-eared lady that you dressed up as previously is not bad. I don't like that look anymore. It's too obedient, not how a lady boss should be at all. Irina shook her head. Why don't we put on a show of Amy saving her mother? Mag suggested. Irina seemed rather interested in that idea. She sat up straight and said, what show? It means you would play a monkey. I mean an elf being trapped under Buddha Mountain who was forced to separate from us. After that, Amy learned magic and went to the mountain alone to save her mother. This would make a great story. What about you? Me? I am a freeloader. I just have to be me. Sounds pretty good. But where is Buddha Mountain? Shall we change it to Hawashan Mountain? Where is Hawashan Mountain? What mountains are there in the Wind Forest? The Wind Forest is a plain with very few hills that cannot be considered mountains. Actually, if you make known your identity right now, no one would dare to do anything to you right now too, Irina said with her mouth full of noodles. Mag was stunned. This was the case based on his current capabilities and reputation. Being a demigod was akin to being invincible in the Norland continent. Besides, he had played an important role on 2 occasions in the fight against the devil and had already become the savior of the world to many people. He was no longer just the Roth Empire's god of war. Even if he opened up about his identity, no one would come to him and seek death. Josh was dead, Sean had lost an arm and the Wind Forest was already in bits and pieces. Who else is there? Before Mag replied, Irina mumbled to herself, but in that case, it would be rather boring. Those customers would not come solely for the food. It's so boring to cook for a group of people with motives. Yes, it would be boring. This was another reason Mag did not wish to publicize his identity. There was another deeper reason, perhaps the little insistence he held inside. Mamie Restaurant's boss Mag probably was the real him. It was also the identity that he liked and accepted wholeheartedly. Whereas the savior Alex was more of a character he played, like Spider-Man with his mask on, someone that would appear only when needed. It was very difficult to imagine what his interesting life would become if he were to open up with his identity. Perhaps there would be a wave of change in customers. The patience of those with ill intentions was not something people going for food could compare to. The ladies in the restaurant might behave with more caution and restriction. Mag only gave it a casual thought and it already seemed terrible to him. Irina picked up the bowl and finished the soup. After that, she looked at Mag and said, "Oh, right, isn't your Miss Black Cat done printing? Are you intending to sell it in the restaurant too?" "No. Miss Black Cat is going to be in for Maestro Vicky. If it sells well in Chaos City, she might not benefit much too. Therefore, I am thinking of sending these 10,000 copies to Rodu to get Eofi's help to sell them." Maestro Vicky poured a glass of warm water for Irina. Irina took a sip and looked at him with a smile. "You look more like a shrewd businessman now. You have to put in the effort to earn money." Mag smiled. He looked at Irina and said, "One would only know how costly the living expenses are if they are supporting the family. Money is a good thing. You should know this very well too. 40,000 elves. Each person is a mouth to feed. It's not a small number." Irina nodded in agreement. After all, this place is not full of resources like the Wind Forest. The elves were unable to stand on their own and everything required money. If Mag did not create a few big projects, very lucrative ones, for the night elves the moment they arrived at Chaos City, Irina would still be worrying daily about how to feed them. "In that case, I will arrange for the manpower to have them sent to Titan Tavern." "That works. I'll write a letter to Eofi later on to ask her to help us sell the picture books." Mag nodded. This would save him a trip down. Other than the picture books, Mag also sent Eofi another gift to be the proxy for rum. Hannah's brewery had already moved into the production phase. Other than supplying for Mamie restaurant, it still had an abundant supply of rum. Mag's plan was to set up 3 dedicated points of sale for rum and at the same time, expand outwards. The drinking culture was in trend and most of the potential consumers gathered in Rodu. Therefore, Rodu was also one of his goals for expansion. Eofi was not a bad partner, so he had decided to pass this opportunity to her. Other than Titan Liquor, Titan Tavern did not have another drink that could hold the fort. If they had rum as a form of support, Titan Tavern would become more competitive. In business, it was only right to look out for one another. After the morning operation, Mag went down to Hope School. This new school building, located in the city's north side, was built on a piece of wasteland and it only took a few months to be completed. The workers were removing the outer barriers and the 4-story buildings started appearing. There were martial arts fields, magic halls, career buildings, and more. Mag stood at the school gate with a smile. He could already see the children entering the school with their school bags. He had participated in every phase of this school's establishment from the obtaining of funds to choosing of location and designing the place. Although he did not come often, he did see it get built from scratch. He hoped that with the establishment of Hope School, students who skipped school due to poverty could have the chance to receive an education, thereby getting an opportunity to change their fate through learning. He had always believed that learning was the most effective way for most people to change their fate and social class. Education is useful in any world. He was more passionate to push for this and provided a lot of support because he saw Amy's friends. The final work for the school was almost complete. It seemed that there should be no problem opening a week later. "Mr. Mag." A voice came from behind. Mag turned around and said with a smile, "Teacher Luna, what a coincidence. There is a trial class for the new teachers today. I came over to take a look. At the same time, I'll be doing some handover work with the workers." Luna stopped in front of Mag and said with a smile, "This is your first time here after the school's construction has been completed, right? Do you want me to bring you around? It would be an honor if you have the time." Mag nodded with a smile. He wanted to take a look at how the construction was going and it would naturally be better if Luna was around to give him a tour. This way, please. Luna brought Mag through the school door. As the principal of Hope School, every inch of grass here was filled with her effort. Mag would occasionally nod and ask a few questions. While he listened to Luna's detailed introduction to the current situation at Hope School, he felt an increasing respect for her. He initially thought that everything could be done with money. However, to really build a school, to build a team of teachers, and recruit students, it was really very difficult and troublesome. Luna was a weak lady, but she took everything upon her shoulders. She had given too much to build a school that could change the children's fate. Luna stopped in front of a school building. She told Mag with a smile, "Although I've said many words of gratitude, I would still like to thank you, once again, on behalf of the children." "You're too courteous." Mag shook his head. He looked at the career building and asked with a smile, "Is your school hiring cooking teachers? The kind that is only part-time without pay?" There was no doubt about Mr. Mag's culinary skills. It was not even too much to say that he was the best chef in Chaos City. If such an excellent chef could teach the children, it would be a very good opportunity for those who wanted to become a chef. Ding! The host had triggered a quest, interfering teacher. Please become a special teacher employed by Hope School and recruit 30 students to start the class. Mission reward, depending on the completeness of the mission. If all students manage to be highly skilled in culinary, the reward will be better. The system's voice rang in Mag's head. Mag's eyes lit up. This is interesting. It's all right. I still have the time to come for 2 to 3 classes every week outside of operation times. Mag said with a smile, "I just don't know if I am suitable to be a teacher since I've never taught children before." "You are a very outstanding and easygoing person. There should be no problems being a teacher." Luna nodded. Moreover, the career classes are set at 3 classes per week in the initial stages. We could arrange the classes according to your schedule. All right. Mag nodded. He thought for a while and asked, "Do I need to take the teacher's entrance test?" "You are a teacher employed for professional skills and everyone knows how professional you are. However, we still have to go according to the rules and have you participate in a basic test. We need to fully understand if you require any training before you take on the role," Luna said. Mag nodded. He did not find it troublesome. Instead, he found Luna increasingly professional. She did not employ him straight away just because they were close. "What is the content of the test and when do I take it?" Mag asked. The test, for professional skill teachers, is on professional skills and how well you can guide students. In the career of a chef, you can understand it as how you could guide a student to complete a dish. We do have some teachers joining the test today. Do you have any other arrangements this morning? The test would take around an hour, Luna said. Mag nodded thoughtfully and said, "I'll do the test today in that case." He was also a professional when it comes to teaching someone how to cook. He could just give a pointer or two wherever it was needed. His golden finger had to be put to use. "All right. Please follow me." Luna brought Mag to the martial arts field. The professional skills teacher's test would be ongoing during these 3 days. The professionals of various industries like weaponsmiths, healers, potion makers, and more would be undergoing their tests in the various segment areas of the martial arts field. Although Hope School was more of a charity school, Luna had heeded Mag's suggestion to offer attractive salary packages in order to attract talents. The people who made it to the test today had all passed a written test and there were a lot of them. Mag nodded while listening to Luna's introduction. Although time was tight, everything was done in an orderly manner and that really proved Luna's abilities. "Ma'am." A young female teacher stood up in shock when she saw Luna. After that, she sized up Mag, who was beside Luna. He was young, handsome, and mature. Luna told the teacher, "Hira, this is Mr. Mag. He is intending to interview to be a professional skills teacher. I'm bringing him over to join the test. Please make arrangements for it to start quickly." "Mr. Mag." Hira found his name a little familiar. She looked through the name list on her table twice and said, "But this name isn't on the test list." Mag looked at her and the corners of his lips twitched. It seemed this one had not been to Mamie restaurant before. However, upon second thought, it did make sense. Mag was no superstar. He was just a slightly more popular restaurant owner. He could not be expecting his name to cause an uproar anywhere he went. Of course, if it was the name Alex, the effect would be difficult. Hira looked at Luna and complicatedly. Could the principal be thinking of adding an extra person based on ties? One had to know that the people taking the test today had all passed the written test before they were given the chance. The noble image of Luna started wavering in her heart. Mr. Mag was specially invited by me. According to the rules, he could take part in the test directly. Please add his name in. He is interviewing to be a cooking teacher, Luna explained. Al. All right. Hira sat down and put Mag's name on the list. However, she was still bothered by it. Oh, right, ma'am, there isn't anyone taking part in the test as a chef, so we did not prepare any kitchenware. I'm afraid he'll have to wait for us to get ready before taking part in the test, Hira told Luna as she placed her pen down. Luna forgot about that aspect. It's all right. I have backup kitchenware. You do have an employee cafeteria here, right? I just need you to prepare a few ingredients for me, Mag said. Luna looked at Hira and said, "We'll arrange it that way. Put Mr. Mag on the test right away for the next round. Can I borrow your pen and paper?" Mag asked Hira. Hira flipped open a notebook and passed it to Mag with a pen. Mag received the pen and wrote down a few ingredients, 1 eggplant. Hira looked at the beautiful handwriting and was stunned. This man who looked handsome and elegant, could even write so beautifully. How could he be a chef? He looked more like a calligraphy master. Just his handwriting alone surpassed many of those who interviewed to be a calligraphy teacher, but he was actually here as a chef. On top of that, he was very charismatic. His side profile was perfect. He had a very high nose bridge, deep-set eyes, and he was dressed extremely well. What an outstanding young man! Hira! Luna called out. Hira came back to her senses and quickly looked away as she blushed. She received the notebook and said, "I'll arrange it right away." She quickly fled after that. Hira is our new teacher, but she is very patient and hard-working, Luna said with a smile as she looked at Hira's back view. She is rather hard-working. Mag nodded. After that, Luna led him off to the testing ground. The middle-aged man put away his little wooden box and nodded at everyone before leaving the examination ground. This person is quite professional, but he still has to enhance his teaching capabilities. The content is too dry and heavy. Even someone like me who has a certain understanding of precious stones found it difficult to understand. I'm afraid it would be worse for the children, a young and beautiful female teacher said with a sigh as the emerald in her hand shone brightly. Yes. Most of the teachers this morning have that problem. They are very professional. Those who could pass the written test are all experienced professionals in their fields. However, teaching and working are very different. No matter how prepared they are, their performances were mediocre. Many cannot even achieve the goal of teaching, another teacher said with a sigh. The few judges had the same worried expression. It was probably the same for the other few examination rooms too. There was a serious lack of good teachers. So many excellent talents were only attracted because of the high salary offered by Hope Primary School. It was also because of such competitive salaries that they needed to choose better teachers for the children, so that they could learn useful skills and knowledge in their limited time in school. Knock knock. The door was knocked. The old teacher took a look at the name list in hand and said, "The next one is a makeup artist. It has been a growing career in the past few years and has a good business outlook. This field is getting increasing attention in places like banquets and performances." The door was pushed open and Luna stepped in. "Ma'am." The judges were all shocked. You've all been working hard. Luna nodded. After that, she introduced to everyone, this is Mr. Mag, whom I've invited specially. He is a chef and because he has a tight schedule, I brought him over to take part in the test first. Upon hearing that, everyone turned to look at Mag, who followed Luna in. Mag was dressed in a grey trench coat. He stood up tall and was wearing a black suit and a pair of black leather boots. He was very handsome with pretty features and his smile looked very amiable. Other than his overly handsome looks, he did have the aura of a teacher. The two women's eyes lit up. The looks and figure of this one would undeniably take the top spot among all those who had taken the test today so far. They did not have any other thoughts. It was just that something pleasing to the eyes would help in work efficiency. Mr. Mag? This name sounds rather familiar. That teacher with the emerald frowned as she started recalling. Melly had just returned from Rodu. She had been in Rodu previously, taking care of her family business. As she was tired of all the internal conflict and drama that was going on, she handed all her work to the other people in the family and left Rodu. She happened to find out that Hope School was hiring teachers and after hearing about teacher Luna, she confined herself at home for 1 month to study before successfully passing the written test and interview to become Hope School's new teacher. Due to the insufficient manpower, even a new teacher like her was roped in to be a judge. Chef? Ma'am, I don't think we've set up a chef profession in our previous discussion, right? Teacher Elton asked Luna. The other 4 teachers also turned to look at Luna. Although the principal had the special right to invite people to join the school, the setting up of a chef course was indeed not in their previous plan. Moreover, they did discuss this profession. To be an outstanding chef, other than a good mentor, the students would also require much practice. And be it the students' schedule, venue, and ingredients needed, Hope School was unable to provide a good supply currently. Careers like precious stones valuation or sales had lower requirements for the venue and the most important thing was knowledge and experience, making them more suitable to be taught in Hope School right now. Luna knew what the other teachers were thinking. Before that, she indeed had no intention of setting up a chef career. However, since Mr. Mag raised it, as someone who had tried Mr. Mag's cooking on multiple occasions, Luna knew that if the children could learn cooking from Mag, they would have no problems providing for themselves even if they only knew how to make 1 or 2 dishes. They could even be someone various restaurants would want to poach. This was the real master and he was willing to even teach the children for free. She had no doubt that Mag would take out his utmost sincerity in teaching the children how to cook. According to the examination rules, the judges were deployed randomly and the testees' details could not be revealed during the test. Therefore, Luna could only say, being a chef is a career with very wide prospects. After mastering the skill, one could be employed by either operating his own restaurant or working in a restaurant. I've thought over it carefully. I'll be adding in the chef's profession and will hire a professional chef to teach the children. This was preposterous. Elton frowned. However, he did not speak his mind. He was a retired teacher. Luna came to his house to invite him to teach. She had put a lot of effort and emotions into Hope School. However, with so many teachers around, he still had to show Luna some face. The other teachers did not speak further upon hearing that. Hope School was established by Luna. She was the principal and had the final say in all matters. However, they could not understand why she suddenly wanted to add a chef's profession right before school opened. Was it just because of a man? However, he was dressed up very well and appeared to have the aura of a noble. Would he really be a chef? That being said, we did not prepare anything for a chef's test today. We don't even have the basic stove and kitchenware. Is this teacher intending to mime the process? Elton said as he looked at Mag. Mag could already feel the doubt and dissatisfaction from the teacher's expressions and words. It seemed his sudden suggestion and request today created some trouble for Luna. I came very suddenly. Please bear with me. However, I have brought along my stove and kitchenware. As for the ingredients, I've already troubled teacher Hira to get them from the cafeteria. I suppose they will arrive soon, Mag said with a smile as he pulled out his stove and kitchenware from a storage ring. Melly watched Mag and smiled as she got ready to watch the show. This man was quite interesting. She wanted to see how he could present his cooking tutorial dressed like that. These are the ingredients that you asked for, but I did not manage to find chili and garlic, Hira told Mag as she walked in with a basket. Mag received the basket and said with a smile, "Thank you. I have those 2 ingredients with me." Hira looked at Mag's warm smile and blushed. She nodded and said, It's all right. It's just a small matter." After that, Hira greeted Luna and the teachers and turned to leave quickly, even closing the door behind her. Luna walked to the judging table and sat on a chair at the side. Mag pulled out some chili and garlic from his storage box and told Elton, "I'm ready. We can begin the test." "Are you sure you're ready?" Elton questioned as he looked at Mag, who was still in his trench coat. "Yes." Mag nodded with certainty. "Then let's begin." Elton nodded. Since things had already gotten to this stage, it would seem like he was being unreasonable if he protested further. He wanted to see what this man, who could change Luna's mind, was capable of, and if he was really worth Hope School adding a new chef profession. "Students. As a chef, the first lesson I am teaching you today is to be appropriately dressed. If you're dressed like me, you're not fit to enter the kitchen." Mag put on his teacher persona immediately. He removed his trench coat and put it on the table at the side. He unbuttoned his suit and placed it on the table as well, leaving only a fitted white shirt, which one could roughly see the shape of his abs through. "The chef's battlefield is the kitchen. Our weapons are the cleaver and spatula. And a proper chef's suit is our armor. What I am wearing is obviously not good enough. However, due to our current limited conditions, I am unable to change. However, we still have to be as strict as possible." Mag rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, wore his apron, and put on his chef's hat. "When you're cooking for people, the top priority is cleanliness. Therefore, we have to get rid of any possible contamination that might get into the food, like our hair and the dirt on our clothes." Mag poured a basin of water and said as he washed his hands, "After changing into a chef's outfit, the first step is to wash your hands. The basic requirement of a chef is to have a clean pair of hands." Mag's voice was gentle and alluring. His content was interesting and his actions were not stiff. The judges were actually absorbed in his teaching unknowingly. Luna, who was listening at the side, also nodded her head profusely. She was previously worried that Mag would not be suitable to teach and she might have to guide him. Now, it seemed as though those worries were unwarranted. Mr. Mag was a natural teacher. The way he took off his clothes is so suave. Melly was focusing on the wrong points. Although she was trying to concentrate on Mag's teaching, she could not help but glance at his handsome face and 8-pack abs. "Today, we are learning a dish called eggplant with garlic sauce. If you know the dish, it would actually seem like fish is one of the ingredients, but that is not the case. Therefore, to make it seem that way, we will have to put in effort for the seasonings and side ingredients. Eggplant with garlic sauce." It was as though Melly was struck by lightning. She suddenly remembered why Mag's name sounded so familiar. Isn't he the Mr. Mag from the magazine she was reading on her way back? The owner of Mamie Restaurant. The one who was once titled the best chef in the Roth Empire King's birthday banquet. She had a lasting impression of that eggplant with garlic sauce tutorial. Of course, as a young mistress who had not done any housework, she had not tried to make it but just thought that the food would taste good after simply reading the tutorial. When she returned, she was tortured by her family drama, and after that, she was so busy preparing for the examination that she did not have time to eat in Mamie Restaurant. To think that this is what the well-known Mr. Mag looked like. He was young, handsome, and had a nice body. He was simply awesome. No wonder Principal Luna changed her mind. There was completely no issue with adding a profession for a master like him. The principal even brought him here for the examination, according to the rules, and did not even reveal his identity. This would not make the other teachers look bad. This thought made her embarrassed about her immature thoughts just now, and she felt increasingly respectful toward Luna. The other 4 teachers still had no idea of Mag's identity. However, they kept nodding when they watched Mag teaching difficult things in a simple way. They even took down some notes from time to time. Even Elton was not as stern as before. He could not help but feel glad when he looked at Mag, and he nodded way more than he did for other teachers. After the oil was heated up, the spices went into the wok. Mag held the wok handle in one hand and a spatula in another, tossing the food very beautifully. The fragrance from the spices started wafting around. "Smells so good." The judge's eyes lit up. Mag only started stir-frying the side ingredients, but it already smelled so good. A small commotion started rising from the other makeshift examination rooms, divided simply with a board, when the fragrance started wafting around. "Is it time to eat?" "I doubt it. We've only just had breakfast." "Are we still continuing with the examination?" Yes, go on." Mag smiled when he heard the noises from the surroundings. He ignored the sounds and poured the prepared eggplants into the wok. He had made a simple improvement to the eggplant with garlic sauce. He was actually using the recipe he wrote in Perfect Food last month. This was also why he dared to take part in the examination today. He was already getting ready for it a month ago. Not long later, Mag turned off the fire and a serving of bright red, fragrant and delicious-looking eggplant with garlic sauce was presented in front of everyone. "This is the finished product, the eggplant with garlic sauce. Isn't it simple?" Mag displayed to the judges with a smile as he held the plate of food in one hand. Yes. Melly nodded. Right now, she only wanted the food in his hand. Elton gave a standing ovation. He told Mag with admiration, "Young man, your build is marvelous. You are a rare teaching talent. Join Hope School." The other teachers nodded with a smile as they looked at Mag with admiration. They never thought that they could listen to a cooking class so seriously and be so absorbed in it that they took so many notes. It felt as though they had really understood how to make the eggplant with garlic sauce. "I concur. But before that, can I try the eggplant with garlic sauce first?" Melly said as she stared at the food in Mag's hand. "I think it is okay to do so," a female teacher at the side said with a smile. However, this was still the best dish she had after returning to Chaos City. There were notes of sweet, sour, savory, and spiciness all in one small piece of eggplant. It was an intoxicating taste that lingered in her mouth for a very long time. Of course, the most miraculous experience was that the eggplant with garlic sauce was made in front of them and presented in the form of a cooking tutorial, yet it still tasted remarkably delicious. Elton stood up and looked at Mag, saying joyfully, "Mr. Mag, we will be colleagues from now on." Mag was the one and only career tutor he was satisfied with, without a doubt. He was exceptionally capable and was able to go in depth, yet still explain it very simply. His teaching pace was very comfortable, and that even made Elton suspect if Mag had been a teacher before. "Thank you." Mag nodded with a smile. He was also very satisfied with his performance during the test. After all, he had taught Firas, Anna, and Mela how to cook and had quite the experience in this aspect. His impromptu performance had a very good result too. After the test, Mag did not stay further. He put away his kitchenware and stove, bade the judges goodbye, and left with his coat. Mag went to the washroom, and when he walked out, he bumped into Melly. "Hi, Mr. Mag, I am Melly. Your cooking is really good." Melly went up as she greeted Mag with a smile. "Teacher Melly, you are too kind." Mag shook his head humbly. He glanced at this teacher with brown short hair, beautiful eyes, and light makeup. Her hazel eyes were bright and lively. "Your restaurant is Mamie Restaurant, right?" Melly continued. "You know it." Mag was slightly surprised. He had an exceptional memory and could be certain that this teacher had not been to his restaurant before. I saw your column in the magazine but didn't recall it at that moment. However, your eggplant with garlic sauce left quite an impression and it reminded me, Melly said with a smile. Do come over to the restaurant if you're free. Goodbye, Teacher Melly. Mag walked away with a smile after washing his hands. Luna was waiting for him outside and the two walked away as they conversed. Melly watched the two of them leave thoughtfully. The principal and Mr. Mag look rather compatible. They are both so outstanding, Hira muttered under her breath. Are they very close? Melly asked curiously. Hira looked at Melly and said, when I went to the canteen to take the ingredients, I ran into a middle-aged man who said that Mr. Mag is Hope School's very important investor. Without him, there might not be Hope School. I've talked to a few of the judges just now and all of them think that you are able to take on the role as a chef tutor, Luna said with a smile as she walked beside Mag. Am I being accepted in advance? Mag asked with a smile. It is the honor of Hope School to have a chef as outstanding as you to teach here, Luna said seriously. She was watching Mag during the test and was shocked at his ability to hold the fort so well. She was even touched to see him present the recipe for the eggplant with garlic sauce so selflessly. She knew about the Mamie fever going on in the culinary world of Chaos City recently. Various restaurants had been launching Mamie restaurants' food and although the taste differed a lot, it was still apparent how they were just riding on the hype and popularity. If the kids could master a few dishes from Mag, they would be able to get a rather good job easily in any restaurant. You didn't have the intention to set up a chef's career course, right? Mag paused and turned to look at her when he asked. Yes. Luna did not try to hide it at all. I'll contact the construction team today to get a chef's training ground built as soon as possible. Mag smiled with a shake of his head and said, I am the one who suggested it, so leave the training grounds design and construction to me. I saw that there was still a plot of empty land beside the canteen. Can I use it? Luna hesitated. Actually, what I am envisioning is to set up a culinary college. Its scale might be a little small at the starting phase but the goal is to set up the best chef training ground in the Norland continent and for it to become a chef's holy land. Mag smiled. Therefore, I want the training ground to be a bit more formal. And I'm afraid no one else can do this. Luna looked at Mag and smiled. She nodded and said, all right. I'll hand over the plot of land beside the canteen to you. Thank you. Mag nodded. He went around the school with Luna and then left. As he turned back to look at the cluster of new school buildings at the school gate, Mag smiled proudly. Who would have thought that he could become a teacher? Even if it was just a part-time job. Mag still found it miraculous. Mag went over to the textile factory which was nearby. He found Ashley and booked a group of outstanding carpenters among the night elves. There were 6 more days to the opening of Hope School. He wished to build the chef's training ground before that, so that it would not affect the school's opening. You want to be a teacher at Hope School? Irina asked Mag in shock during lunch. The ladies all paused their work at hand and looked at Mag. Father, are you going to be a teacher? Amy hopped off a chair joyfully. To her, a teacher is someone very impressive, like Teacher Luna. Boss, what would you be teaching? Mia asked curiously. How to make all the young ladies in the city fall in love with him. Angela guessed as she propped her chin on her hand. This is a very close answer. Mag called Angela out and said, go to New East Culinary School. Are you going to teach the children how to cook? Ferris caught on very quickly. Yes. Hope School is setting up a career training course and I ran into Teacher Luna while touring the school today, so I went to apply to be a part-time teacher. I have already passed the test, Mag said with a smile. Teacher Mag, Anna called out. Good girl, little Anna. Mag nodded with a smile. The little one was one of his students. Won't it hinder the children in their learning? Irina asked. Learning is actually a process. It is not just applied to magic or martial arts. For children coming from poor families, it is more realistic to have a skill that could help them to stand independently in society and break free from the poverty cycle from their parents' generation, Mag said with a shake of his head. Mag looked at her for a while and said with a nod, I think you have what it takes to be a teacher. Babla was overjoyed. She sat up straight and stuck out her rather flat chest. What about me? I can teach the children how to sing, Gina said as she raised her hand. She loved children and it would be fabulous if she could become a teacher. This is a really good idea. Mag nodded. Gina had already mastered the common tongue and although she still had a little bit of an accent, she could articulate her words very well and the accent was not an issue. Besides, she was a really good singer. She had the voice of a mermaid after all and would be a good fit as a music teacher. Boss, I can be your assistant when you teach, Rena said with a smile. That's a good idea too. Mag nodded. He did not have much experience dealing with so many children at the same time, so it would naturally be better to have an assistant. Everyone chimed in, displaying their passion to take on the glorious role of Hope School's teachers. Mag clearly turned down Angela's suggestion to teach the children how to charm. After that, he told everyone, I do not have the last say in this. If you really want to be a part-time teacher at Hope School, I can bring you down one day to see Teacher Luna. She has the final say. During the afternoon break, Mag shut himself in the study room to devise a design for the training center's building. It might be called a training center, but it could actually be considered a holistic education building. Mag's vision was a 4-story building. The first floor would be a kitchen that came with a storeroom that was big enough to have 100 people learning and practicing cooking at the same time. The second floor would be a more comprehensive hall split into various classrooms that would allow students to be split into various culinary styles to specialize in afterwards. The third floor would be temporarily made into a recipe hall where various recipes would be stored. Only those who were good, those who were eager to learn, would obtain the right to gain a recipe of their specialty. As for the fourth floor, it would be the teacher's office. With the help of the system, Mag completed his design. After that, he went to the city's north side and quickly arranged for the Night Elves construction team to start work in the school. When the teachers saw construction work happening at the barricaded empty plot of land beside the canteen, a discussion started. After all, they just received a notice yesterday saying that the construction works in the school had been completed. Why was there a new construction team coming into the school again today? On top of that, they were a team consisting only of elves. The construction work will happen across 5 days and all barricades will be torn down, at the latest, by the night of the eve of the school's opening. It will not affect the school's opening. Mag promised Luna in her office. Is time too tight? Luna asked. It's not an issue. They are professionals and this timeline that I gave you is inclusive of a buffer time. Mag waved his hands with a smile. He was very confident in this construction team from the Night Elves. The construction team went into the school and completed all the handover work. Mag held a meeting with some of the Elven engineers to finalize the plan and some details. The construction materials were brought in and the construction work started immediately. There were 4 stories to build and time was tight. On top of that, Mag had a lot of requests so they had to work for 3 days straight. System, I am intending to custom make some kitchenware. Do you want to take on this business? Mag said to himself as he pushed his bicycle out from the campus. As a god of cookery cultivation system, I only cultivate the god of cookery. I do not do business, the system said proudly. What a pity. It would be more than 100 sets of kitchenware and furniture. I guess I'll have to trouble myself to go around Chaos City. After all, I can buy anything I want in Chaos City, Mag said slowly as he rode towards the blacksmith in the distance. Host, why don't we discuss it again? Discuss? What's there to discuss? I am very glad that you are such a system with principles. After all, there aren't many like you. I have to treasure that. Mag stopped his bicycle in front of the blacksmith shop, put down the bicycle kickstand, and walked into the shop. As a god of cookery system, I am a professional in making kitchenware, the system said seriously. Boss, how much does it cost to custom make a set of kitchenware? Mag asked the dwarf blacksmith who was leaning by the fireplace. It would depend on which set you want. The blacksmith put down the erotic novel in his hands and stuffed it under his seat cushion as he looked up at Mag. What sets do you have? Mag asked with a smile. The blacksmith named the sets as he straightened each finger. Set 1, 3-piece pot set, 3-piece knife set, 1 stove, 800 copper coins. Set 2, 5-piece pot set, 5-piece knife set, 1 stove, 1 gas stove, 2,800 copper coins. Set 3, 8-piece pot set, 12-piece knife set, 1 stove, 1 gas stove, 1 kitchen counter, 1 sink counter, 5,888 copper coins. What are the details of the pieces in your sets? Mag asked. This way, sir. The blacksmith stood up and stuffed the novel, from under the cushion, under his shirt as he brought Mag over to a display set. There were various kinds of pots and knives on display. It was a very comprehensive and professional set of kitchenware. It was all equipment that a chef in a restaurant would use in various scenarios. Mag looked at the display set. The quality was so-so, but it was sufficient for learning. If it's 100 sets, it would only cost 588,800 copper coins. That isn't very expensive, Mag thought to himself. Expensive? It is very expensive. How could someone put such an expensive price on such kitchenware of such sub-par quality? What an unscrupulous businessman! This cleaver might not even be able to cut through a normal wild boar's bones, much less a magic beast. Also, the thickness of that pot's base is not even enough. If you use that pot, the food will not heat up equally and you will not be able to create the perfect dish. Host, as a teacher, how could you let your students use kitchenware of such quality? You're poisoning the saplings of the country and wasting their youth, the system said agitatedly. Really? I thought it was pretty good. Mainly, the price is acceptable, Mag replied calmly. Not 5,888. Just 5,688, and you can bring home a perfect opulent set. The system brought out an opulent set menu. It included a 3-piece knife set, 3-piece pot set, 1 stove, and 1 kitchen counter. The quality appeared to not be any worse than the blacksmith's set 3, but it made Mag smile. Mag was actually not very interested in too many fancy things. Be it pots or knives, it was not the more the merrier. He only needed enough. Isn't this equivalent to his set 1? That's only 800, Mag said.